Hello and welcome to Notorious Scoundrels. I am Evan. That's Mike over there. Mike, I literally almost said I'm Mike and that's Evan. And that's because I'm turned around today for a couple different reasons. One, we are using new software. This is like sort of the start of the second stage of the new era of Fifth Trooper. I'm sure that I'll be talking more about that when there's fewer things to talk about on this podcast. But two, I had the very fun experience today of I listened to a very nice interview from the X and One guys this morning on my way to work, and then at work, as you might imagine, not a lot of appropriate time for like taking a peek at Discord when I'm leading rounds at a hospital with a bunch of young learners. And so it was like when I was eating lunch that I did decide to check Discord, and I had a message from Evan Bulris that was zero context, and it was the PDF of these new upgrades that dropped today. And because this was in zero context, I was like, Evan, are you like sending me some kind of a leak? Is this homebrew? Like, what's going on? He just sent the PDF with no message attached.
No context.
Yeah. And so eventually I figured out that this was in fact like a new PDF of new upgrades. I mean, so Mike, you probably were there when all of this hit. Like, what was it like?
I was on the ground.
Give me the ground perspective, Michael.
It was crazy. So honestly, the presser came out saying, hey, like there's a points update. The presser didn't say anything about new cards. So I went to the AMG website and I clicked on download. At that point in the day, the document was called 2025 points update. I clicked on it and it took me to a bunch of upgrades. There were no points whatsoever.
Whoa.
And I was like, did AMG like dox themselves here? Like, what's going on? But yeah, no, I think they just had an issue with like links going to the wrong places. Sometimes that happens, right?
Yeah, websites are hard. I know that.
It's so yeah, we've got a bunch of new upgrades.
So wait, I literally haven't read the presser because I've had to do like very Cliff Notes reviews on my basically like sort of staring at it on my way to the car, and then like while in the car I kept staring and I was like, what? And so the public article on AMG, like the news article, it doesn't mention the upgrades.
It at least originally did not mention them at all. I think there's like a tagline at the bottom now where it like sends you to like, but the original link in the article just like sent you to the download page, and then the download page, the document was like named not the correct thing. It
was named "Do Not Download." secret upgrade list for use later this year.
Right.
But I mean, hey, we're all very excited to talk about this. I think like the whole community is buzzing. We are actually like literally delaying a podcast that had been recorded a week ago so that we could just get this one out faster. We want to be there and be able to comment on this stuff. Along those lines, very quick shout out to two newer upgraded patrons. That's Grant Saunier and David Johnson. Thank you very much to both of you. And then two random shout outs, Andy Carter and Dom Leadham. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start by talking about these list of upgrades, because I think that's sort of like, it's like the most exciting thing.
I want to take a step farther than that.
Okay, sure.
Because the level that I am excited about these 12 cards, this is the most excited I've been about Legion since Old Legion. And
win and roll, like, and by Old Legion you mean you're comparing it to the first time you realized that you could in fact take 4 range 4 shots with like infinite aim and surge tokens with Rexstar level of excited. Or
I just like, there's been a lot of like changes to the game over the past year.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Nothing has felt like here's new exciting stuff. It's like you got some missions, they changed, that was fine. Here's some new rules, that was fine. But I didn't feel like I got new toys to play with.
Even with 2.6 launch?
No. Yeah, no. The thing is, I still had all the old toys. You just employed them in like a different format. This is like entirely new
That's fair.
things that like it's like I got 12 new units and all at once. So, because frankly, these upgrades are like more than just upgrades. These are some of the most creative and like out of the box and powerful upgrades this game has ever seen.
They are both of those. I agree. And so in an effort, and like I'm very excited too, so excited that I just want to get into it. In an effort to try to like wrap our brains around it in like a semi-organized way, we're gonna do a new rating system where it's pretty simple. Hit, crit, or miss. I don't think I need to explain it. We're probably gonna have some similar opinions. We're probably gonna have some different opinions. And I mean, do you want to go? Do you want to go from the top to the bottom? I guess that's like the right way to do it. I almost want to do it the opposite way because the one at the very front is the one I'm most excited about personally.
Let's go top bottom. I think it'll be easier for people to follow that.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay, so first of all, kind of them when they made this printout to have a couple copies of some of the non-uniques, so that if you are in fact like doing the full print and play thing, you don't have to kill quite as many trees to do it. So thanks to AMD for that. But yeah, we got 12 upgrades to get through, and I guess we're starting with the one again I'm most excited about. So this is one of a couple training upgrades that are like sort of training upgrades. they're like this doesn't fit anywhere else, so we're gonna call it training, and you can take it even if you don't have a training slot, which I feel like may get kind of weird because like some of the trooper ones could go on troopers that do have a training upgrade slot. And so if they do that, does it like stop them from taking tenacity?
Yeah, 100%. That's the same way that like, so the reason we know that is that portable scanner and electro binoculars work that way on B1.
Ah, that's right. Okay, good call. So yes, on this first one though is not going to be relevant to that because I'm pretty sure that there's 0 speeders in the game that have a training slot. It's a vehicle.
I'm pretty sure there are no vehicles.
There are no vehicles with a training slot. That does make sense. So yeah, the first one is called Strike and Fade, which is pretty cool name for a tactic that I have been employing myself for quite a while, and it's made me even more excited to do that. But it is a sort of a fake training upgrade for a unit with speeder X only. And again, you can equip it even if you don't have a training slot, which is true for all speeders. And then it is after this unit makes an attack action, you may exhaust this card. If you do, this unit makes a move action. Nice and simple text, a little bit simpler than some of the other upgrades that came with this, but we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, it means what it is. You can refresh it later if you want to. I'm not positive about like how often that's going to happen, but you get a move after a shoot action. Now, I do want to add a quick caveat to this, which is important, and it made me less excited about it for one half of the unit that I love so much, the Radagnas Fluttercraft. The caveat is that an overrun attack is not an attack action. You do a move action and then you do an attack as an aspect of that move action. If you were going to trigger this off of either the swoop or the Radagnas Bombardier, you would need to do it after you shoot. Now, I mentioned that this is an issue for the Bombardier because its shot is a crappy black-white surging, like, yay.
Generally, you don't shoot the pistol.
You don't shoot the pistol. You do it when you like want to get an extra suppression and you got nothing better to do. Yeah. The swoop, however, does shoot. And so, like, I'm gonna get to the Flutter Gunner after you talk a little bit, Mike. But when you saw this, given that you're a normal person who doesn't think about Fluttercraft immediately when you see this upgrade, like what was your first thought about what's going to benefit from this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that I'd like to say about this card is I think a very easy way to think about this is basically this lets you once, maybe twice per game, basically free action shoot with a speeder.
That is exactly the right way to think about it. Yes.
Yeah. So like you just like you're triple moving with your speeder, or and you get to shoot one of those turns, which is for 5 points kind of insane to be completely like. I'm thinking air speeders. I'm thinking land speeders. I think on those big units, I think this might be like really close to mandatory.
I think it's stable
I
to
don't quite want to
heavies.
go that far, but I think that it's like it's very close to an auto include on those units. And
I think for the X34, it's maybe not stapled on like the mega cheap, just like garbage 4 dice version, because that's not really valuing its shots anyway. But for the more expensive, like big range 4 ion rocket hit version,
yeah,
I think it's definitely an auto include.
yeah, I just like to be able to like shoot with like an air speeder and then also like break for their other breakthrough point in the same turn just seems crazy good. So I think it's also like pretty good on a lot of the bikes, but I think once we're talking about buying this upgrade like more than once or twice, like it does come with an expense, right? Like it is 5 points per copy, right?
It does.
Which isn't free, but this is a very good effect. I think the thing that is a little weird with it is that a lot of times with bikes, you're setting up like a last first, and in that case, you're using this kind of on the back end as opposed to the front end, because if you use this like when you were last first in with a bike model or a speeder model in general, like you want your last action to be the shot, and then your first action of your next activation is shoot, and then you get out, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes they're just going to kill the speeder in between those two things happening is a possibility, right? So, but for 5 points, this is I think it's really good. I think it's unclear to me like how good this is. Like it's obviously very powerful and very strong, but like the like strong-o-meter is like where it ends up on that meter is very I don't know. Is this a 12 out of 10? It could be, right? Like it's definitely has the potential to be that good, but I think it's probably more reasonable it's like a 9 out of 10. This is definitely a crit in my book.
It's a crit. I agree. This is a crit. And there's some units where it's not going to be the most powerful thing in the world. But let me tell you this. This is a fun upgrade. And I think that it breathes new life into potentially all of the speeders out there, except for the flutter bomber. And I think that
the butt gunner flutter gets use.
So like now I'm going to talk about the butt gunner flutter. So a fun thing about this is that it's gonna give people a taste of what the flutter gunner has been able to do all along, which is to be able to shoot something and also get away from that thing in the same turn. Us cultured folks who have been playing flutter gunners for a while until now have been really the only people who can have that experience. Like it's true that you can like shoot first with a T-47 and then zoom away twice, but that was only after you've already moved in, and so you're kind of exposed in the meantime. But what a flutter has always been able to do is that you can move, reposition, shoot, and then do a speed 3 move away. Now you can move, reposition, shoot, do a free move, and then do another 3-speed move to get on the other side of the friggin' map, because like you can just do that now. So like when you triple move with a large base and a speed 3, you go so far. You literally, I think, are going across 2/3 of the map at that point. And you can just be wherever you want. Like the only thing that's going to be able to get you is like an AAT or a snail that's gonna be able to actually like chase you down. So I do think that this is stapled onto Fluttercraft. 5 points to, even if it's a once per game, and it usually will be once per game, because you think about the recover action. I kind of think that you would want to be in a situation where you're getting something else out of that recover action in order to actually want to do it. And when I'm thinking of that, I guess I'm thinking of HQ uplink, because I can't think of any other situations where a speeder, I guess wedge.
Well, bear in mind that like, I think I'm thinking about this in the right way. Let's say that you have built a speeder situation where you do have uplinks on them. Normally, like, I think adding this in just is free and allows you to basically take recover actions for free. In the sense that you're getting your shoot action for free every time you recover,
It's true, but like, how often is that going to be? Is that going to have a true advantage to just doing the move action instead instead of the recover action?
Well, what I'm saying is, if the point is that you are recovering uplinks every turn, anyways, like regardless of if you were taking this upgrade or not, like adding this upgrade in is just free value.
Yeah,
right? Like it's just
exactly. If you have something else to recover, I think you're taking the recover action quite a bit.
Yes,
and so like
if you're not,
if you're not, then but if you're not, then fine, because like we have a TFT mini. Check those out, please. By the way, where we talk about sort of the relative value of the aim and dodge actions compared to the move action. And we talk about how unless you have a plan to really maximize the utility of it, we talk about how we don't think that 6 points for offensive push to get an aim once is really worth it. 5 points to get a move once with the speeder is very likely worth it.
Like, I mean, it's definitely worth it.
It's worth it. But I'm just going to say that, like, people still be paying 8 points to get a speed 1 move at the beginning of the game with a little trooper boy. So this is good.
Yeah, I definitely... I suspect that this is definitely one of the upgrades on this list that I'm not convinced that this is going to stay at 5 points forever.
I don't think so. I don't think it will.
But
I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it while it is.
Yeah, enjoy it for the next 3 to 6 months or whatever. Yeah. And maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I doubt it. I think the thing is that this is like 5 points to basically keep your speeder model alive for an extra turn or two. Right?
Yeah.
Is how I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Because a lot of times, like, you're like, you just need like one more move with your speeder and like it would be like safe, but it's just that it's not there because that's not how the action economy works.
Especially with the front arc attack speeders.
Yes, 100%.
Because they get trapped into moving a particular direction, which is towards the enemy, which is often what you don't want to be doing.
And then you only can cut like a 90-degree angle. Right?
Yeah.
Like with this, you can actually 180 and like go back the way you came if you want to.
Yeah.
Right. So,
or it can basically be 360 if you play the Fluttercraft. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Actually, before we move on, we're gonna talk about a couple other speeders later because of points changes. But I do want to quickly hit the Imperial speeder bike. Do you think that just like tossing these onto a bike list makes it worthwhile in a way that we were not thinking of it as worthwhile before? Because that's the one I'm most iffy on out of all of the speeder choices, to be honest with you.
I don't, and I'm going to use my nomenclature. I don't think it's close. We were living in a world where everyone was paying, was it 4 points for emergency transponders on their speeder bikes?
Yes. That's true.
And
this is way more valuable. That's a good point.
I mean, like,
I rescind my question.
Yes. Great.
I think this breathes life into literally all the speeders in the game, and that is awesome. Okay, let's cover the next one. So the next one, a little bit longer text. Strike Team Leader. So this is a regular training slot that has to go into an actual training slot, which I'm pretty sure all operatives have anyway, but it is operative only. During setup, you may choose an allied special forces unit of the same faction or affiliation, Mike. Just making sure we highlight that. Sure. And at the start of the activation phase, the chosen unit gains 1 aim or 1 dodge token if it is within 2 of this unit. So that is sort of functionally retinue, right?
It's not functionally retinue.
It's actually retinue, some might say.
Yeah.
I guess that like the text to say retinue this unit would have been too awkward, so they just like sort of sounded it out instead.
Yes.
And then the text of the card says, additionally, the chosen unit may provide backup to...
I don't think the text ends. I actually think it says backup to Strike Team Leader.
I mean, it technically does, but that's the title of the card.
I understand, but I actually think that's like, instead of writing Strike Team Leader again, I think they just like left it that way.
I mean, that's sort of like the intros to the Invincible cartoon show on Amazon.
Yeah.
Back up to the Strike Team Leader.
Yeah.
I should mention that this is a unique upgrade, by the way.
It is.
But like, so yeah, it gives retinue. Retinue, I think, gives that unit backup to whatever the retinue unit is anyway. So this is just 8 points to create a retinue relationship between an operative and a special forces unit. Mike, holy crap.
Yeah, it's amazing. I do want to call out a couple like wonky things here on its face.
Sure.
So it's operative only, which obviously makes it like the characters that you can put this on is like pretty limited. And it's even more limited because most of the operatives available to the non-Republic factions are mercenaries that don't actually have affiliated special forces units.
I do not think like the bounty hunter affiliation, like the little credit symbol, I think that's only the operative bounty hunters and that's it.
I think
there's definitely no special forces that share it with
there's
them.
definitely no special forces.
Yeah.
The AA5
the AA5 is the little the crossed axes, the same as the swoops.
Sure. Yeah, so I think it's just the bounty hunters that have that affiliation. So I just want to
bounty
point
hunters
that
are out for this card.
Yeah,
they lead
I
many strike teams.
Yeah, because like I think your first response to like Empire's got like 20 operatives, but like 19 of them are bounty hunters, right? So
they really have two.
They've got
Callus and Vader.
So this is funny. They've got Inquisitors too, which can use this card because they have 2 training slots.
I forgot about them.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So this card is I think awesome on all. Like I think Strike and Fade was like very like this card is cool what it does. Strike Team Leader is like this is a thematic. Like it's just like a cool, awesome thing you can do to like inject some character into your army, while at the same time providing what is actually a very, very good effect. This card is going to single-handedly make Padme playable.
It's like 1.5 handedly. There's another thing that makes her more playable. We'll get to later, but
sure.
But yes, this is like the thing. I mean, when I saw this card, I was like, oh, Padme,
right?
My first thought, of course, was like Bad Batch. Oh wait, they can't take any training, so that goes out the window. They are the strike team. They don't need to lead a strike team,
right?
But yeah,
Padme, I did think it's really funny that this card is obviously named after Han Solo's leadership role in the Endor mission, right?
Yeah,
but he can't take this card.
He can't. I could really see an operative Han being in development, to be honest with you. Yeah. So who knows?
Fair. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's true. Like, yeah, he is in fact like the first strike team leader you think of in the canon, and that he can't actually take it. But it certainly makes a lot of sense with Callus. It makes a lot of sense
as if Callus didn't need more
I think
value.
Callus we need to squeeze a little bit more value out of Callus. Another one, initially we were sort of well, at least I was sort of like, what's the real value of like keeping Cassian as a operative and giving him field commander? But hey, here's a reason.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this actually breathes some life into some non-operative units as well. And I wanted to point that out because I think this is not just a buff to operatives. This is a buff to Rebel Mandos, Rebel Commandos, Wookiees. I mean, like you can put scopes on the unit that's receiving the aim token. Like, a Wookiee sharpshooter unit that's getting a free aim token every turn and is re-rolling 3 of its dice. Is it worth its points? Probably. I don't know, but it is better than not having the aim token, right? Like,
Mike, you're blowing my mind right now because even though we obviously haven't seen them, we're probably going to see them soon. But the generic operative Jedi Knight is going to be legal in Wookiee Defenders.
Yeah,
I assume he's going to have a training slot,
right? And so like I think there's that sort of thing. I mean, imagine like we talked about Callus. Imagine feeding Death Troopers free aim tokens every turn with this. Like they're re-rolling 4 without scopes, and it's just like this card just makes your Death Troopers like hit on all cylinders at range 4. ARF Troopers, what really needed an aim every turn is the ARF like Echo Squad, right?
And ARF also is one of the units that benefits the most from bolster from Padme.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that like this is a good upgrade that is going to make a lot of like one of units I think really quite good. Yes. It's a build your own Inferno squad is how it feels.
That is, it's awesome. And here's another fun tidbit is that Clan Ren can have both this and retinue just by hanging out near Sabine, who also, we'll get to it, just got cheaper by quite a bit. So Clan Ren,
quite a bit. Yeah, okay.
Hey, we're gonna get to it, Mike. So in any case, I think this one's another easy crit.
This is my favorite one in the whole bunch. This one hits it's obviously powerful. Yeah. I don't think it's as powerful as Strike and Fade, but I think this is just like generically great value that people can put in their list. And I also think this is just like, this is the sort of thing I want to see in list building. This is the sort of like creating interactions that are thematic and just like, I don't know.
It extends the idea of customizable characters that are obviously going to be very picky and choosy and, customizable. But honestly, this is an extension of that.
When I originally opened this document, the first thing that I saw was Strike and Fade, Strike Team Leader. I read Strike Team Leader and I was like, did they just oops and publish all of the customizable
I wondered the same thing,
cards?
Actually, until I started reading them.
Yeah. I was like, and then obviously there's not enough in here that are character centric for that to be the case. Right. But I'm going to be honest. If this is any indication of what they did or could have done with the customizables, I am like 4 to 5 times more hyped for the customizables than I was yesterday.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Okay, so we had 2 double crits so far. That's a very good start. I think that's probably going to change now, but I'm curious what you think. So, mission objective. This is another like standard training that is trooper unit only, but that is obviously not very restrictive, and it is 6 points once per round. When this unit declares an attack against an enemy unit that is holding or contesting one or more objective tokens, this unit may reroll 1 attack die during the reroll dice step. So when it is something that I've sort of been wondering when it was going to come into the game, which was like tech against people that are contesting. Like the astromech is like pro-contesting tech for the sleeper cell, and this is anti-contesting tech. So yeah, like what do you think of this one? Because I think that like initially I had one reaction and then I calibrated my enthusiasm a little bit. But go ahead, Mike.
So I looked at this card originally and my immediate reaction was this card is garbage.
It's funny that we had the opposite immediate reaction.
And as I thought about it more and more and more, I actually think this card could be quite good. I think the obvious comparison points here are On the Hunt and Offensive Push.
Correct.
As free ways to kind of reroll aim tokens and stuff. And so I think the mission objective is better if you play all 5 turns, obviously, right? Because you have more opportunities to trigger. You will get somewhere between 4 and 5 rerolls probably over the course of the game. Getting a reroll on turn 1 is difficult unless you are playing a secondary where somebody's carrying like an objective token, like destroy enemy base or something.
Yeah, so that I think that's good to point out is that this affects obviously all the primaries and it affects half of the secondaries. So there's 3 secondaries where you nominate units to actually carry true objective tokens, which is recon mission, service gain, and a destroy enemy base. So if you're shooting any of those, you would be able to get the reroll on round 1. With the other ones, like it gets sort of confusing. We were talking about this a little bit earlier because with intel and with marked targets, you do put tokens on them, but the rulebook actually isn't clear about what sort of a token you're supposed to put on them. It's not an asset though, and it's not an objective token.
It's not pure. Yeah, they are not things that are like 1-for-1 defined as objective tokens in the book. Right. But it does seem like, at least in the spirit of this card, you would think it would interact with them, but it doesn't seem to. You know, I think all that would need to say is like, intel tokens and marked target tokens are objective tokens, right?
And
that's but right now in the rulebook, I couldn't find anything that mentions intel tokens or marked target tokens at all. They're just on their respective cards.
In my head, they were the same as the old the old way that key positions was, where you would point out what the things are, but that there wasn't actually any physical token on the board for key positions.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the way I've always thought about these other tokens. I I should mention that the intel one is actually a part of a primary objective.
It is.
Whereas mark targets is a secondary. And then the two secondaries where there's clearly no interaction is sweep and clear and bring them to heal, which doesn't involve any tokens at all. So there's definitely going to be at least 2, probably 3 secondaries that just like don't interact with this. And then maybe one primary where there's like double trouble in terms of potential opportunities to get extra rerolls.
Yeah.
I had the same, or sorry, like it's funny that I had the opposite reaction because like I have a gut reaction when I see like limitless game long mods to go like, wow, that's really good. And it seemed like it was something that was going to proc more often than like On the Hunt would. And so it seemed like it was like super good initially. And then I like actually thought about it. And I did think about the value of offensive push, which obviously allows you to reroll 2 dice, obviously in 2 different situations, in one situation, which is a little bit worse. But then, you know, I thought about it more and I was like, well, there's 2 kinds of units that would potentially want to take this. One is like a very shooty unit, like something like a Death Troopers or an ARF Trooper even, because like those, again, On the Hunt would just proc relatively rarely, and I think this would proc more often.
Yes.
Another unit that potentially would want to do it would be something like an ARC Trooper. But even then, and especially when you think about like Wookiees, if I wasn't paying 6 points for tenacity, then I probably wouldn't be, which is like maybe even better than this, right? Because you're probably going to be getting better results on average by rolling the extra red dice on a surging unit. Maybe it is more for just shooty units. What do you think?
So I came to 2 conclusions.
Sure.
After thinking about it, look, we're like 6 hours after this document was released.
It's the perfect time to talk about it.
These could be very
How dare
wrong,
you suggest
right?
otherwise?
Yeah. But I think there are 2 use cases that I'm interested in this card. The first is load in your objective deck with the secondaries that are
That will actually proc this.
all objective based.
Yes.
And then trying to force those secondaries and just spamming like 4 or 5 copies of this in your list.
Yeah, and
just trying to put those units underground in a way that like that's going to give you, I mean, like, are you paying 30 points for it? Yes. But I mean, look, this game is about scoring points, right? And if your opponent drops their secondary and is unable to reclaim it, they're going to lose. Like, that's just kind of like that is a very powerful thing to do, and putting targeted focus on that is really strong. The second situation, which I think might be more interesting, is that I actually think this is really good on snipers.
yeah, I mean, re-rolling 1 dice is usually what they want to do anyway.
Right. It's like roughly equivalent to a name token on most sniper units as it is, because oftentimes you're only re-rolling 1 die, you know.
And are you specifically thinking strike teams when you say that?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Let me be more clear. And so like, I don't know, like that seems good. You know, when the shot you're, you know, obviously snipers are already pretty expensive, right? But if you're gonna get a strike team, you might as well make sure it always hits.
Yeah. And I think that math-wise, actually, the Rebel Sniper strike team would particularly get benefit, because with them, if they happen to hit their white dice, then they're going to get more value out of re-rolling the black dice than the Imperial Sniper will.
Yeah. And this also gives you like multiple re-rolls on snipers and Rebels and Empire in a way that they like they obviously can get like 1 aim from Exemplar now.
Yeah.
But this actually gives you like multiple re-rolls on your snipers if you want it.
Yeah. There's something to that.
It's expensive. Like 6 point, like I don't think if you're doing the sniper thing, I think it's more like I took 1 sniper, I'm going to pay plus 6 points because like I don't, you know, there's a point in every list where you're like, I have like 20 points left. I have like I can buy some luxury upgrades, but I can't buy another activation. So like,
yeah,
I think if you're like already kind of like feeling like I'm playing a Rebel strike team or something, you might as well just go in and
I think so.
Yeah.
I do think that like It's funny that the Clone Wars snipers get less value out of it because they're.
I mean, arcs are like, we have more aims than we're ever going to
The
need.
arcs have the
anyways.
aims, and the BX is like we're hitting both of our shots all the time. So like, what are you worried about here? But
and it doesn't prog lethal, so it's kind of like
exactly. But yeah, like I hadn't thought about that. I think it does breathe new life into the civil. It like gives the Civil War snipers more of a chance to be relevant. And like if you zoom out and you said, if you could like put this as like a keyword on the Rebel sniper, would you think it'd be worth like 6 more points? And most people would probably say yeah.
And it also occurs to me as I'm like talking through this, is like Cassian pistol config probably doesn't hate this card. Like Han probably doesn't hate this card. Like,
that's a good point.
Sabine gunslinging probably doesn't hate this card. I don't know. I think.
Yeah, I mean, is it worth more than up close and personal on Han? Like, those are the questions that you'd have to answer.
For sure, But like, if you wanted to have like a more aggressive build, like,
right,
once every couple turns with Han, you roll a miss.
I think that a really extremely important part about all this, and we'll be getting to more of this at the end, is that training. Along with, actually, like between training gears and comms, there was a relative dearth of widely applicable upgrades, especially I think with gear and comms. Like I'm excited about how much variety this is adding. So anyway, I'm going to go with a hit on mission objective. I think that there's stuff you can do with it. It's cool. It's not like making my mind race like the first two are. But I think there's definitely something to it.
I'm gonna go with Surge on this one. I think it's.
You're making the game more complicated.
I think it's somewhere in between hit and crit. I think that this card could be busted, and we'll see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Or like I think to the point where it's like the new Hunter offensive push of Days of Old, or
maybe we're wrong, and it's a Surge on a B.
Yeah, right.
Or a Rebel Trooper.
Yeah.
No, I think that between hit and crit, actually, it does make sense. Okay, so next we have Trusted Agent. This was another one where if you took a glance at it, you would have been like, did they accidentally send the customizable ones out there instead by accident? But this is a command. It is unique. 5 points. During the issue orders step of the command phase, you may discard this card, so the little X symbol. If you do, issue an order to an allied operative unit. And so, Mike, when I saw this, I was like, so this is seize the initiative via a different pathway. And when I saw it, I was like, my first reaction was that there's probably a broken combo in here, and I'm just like too dumb to sort of see it off the top of my head. Mike, do you already see some kind of a combo with this to really squeeze the value out of it?
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sure you thought about it.
The answer is Padme.
Excellent. I'm already excited.
You play Padme's 1 pip and give an order to Bad Batch.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I'm digging it.
Both these cards are really good for Padme.
Go figure.
Go figure, right? I think that there's also, I mean, look, this card is like way more applicable than that, because you can put it on like a commander, right? And then you can issue an order to any operative in your army. I think any list that's got like Callus in it probably wants this card. I think any rebel list, that's playing. I mean, any rebel list ever wants this card. I think that this may replace improvised orders in some of those lists, potentially.
I just had a thought of like Kalani, especially has usually like 2 empty command slots.
Yeah,
because he has 3. And so you could get an order to the now much cheaper Asajj from Kalani with this at infinite range, by the way. That's pretty cool.
I'm not positive about this, but I think this card breaks the wrong word, but it supersedes the mercenary rules, because the order I don't think the order is coming from the unit that has this card on it. I think this is like the old Lando card.
Yeah, I wondered. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be real clarification, but I wonder if it's like because the upgrade is on a unit, like does it use some kind of a transitive property to where that unit is doing it?
It's possible that
Sure.
it gets like FAQ'd that way, but I think as written, it you can issue orders to mercs with this card even if you're not the same affiliation.
This is the card that made me a little bit sad that Ewoks don't have access to any operatives. I did just want to mention that pretty quickly. But
yeah, I guess Chewie's a heavy in that.
right.
list.
Well,
Yeah.
you could do operative Chewie, but like why? So it functionally doesn't have access to any operatives. But it's really cool. It's like both. It's obviously less flexible than Seize the Initiative because you can put Seize on a commander, but it's also more flexible because you can use a slot that is decently often empty on commanders and use it to enable your operatives to have a face up, which can be really important. Plus, there's these new trainings out, and you ideally don't want to be like wasting one of those to like get a face up order when you can do that from elsewhere.
Well, but also if you're playing like Boba Fett,
Right.
who like you don't really want to play his command cards anymore. Like,
Sad.
you know, like his command
but
cards kind of suck, right? You slap C's on Boba and Trusted Agent on something else, and now he has 2 C's, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so this can kind of like you can kind of double down on order control shenanigans with this. I think like this is kind of like a cheat code for putting C's on a unit twice.
Yeah. Very cool. I like this a lot. I'm gonna go crit on it.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely
It makes list building easier.
Yeah, this card's gonna see play. You know, I'm not sure it's like insanely cool or anything, but it definitely does the thing, and it does it for a price that's reasonable.
Yeah, and I think that anything that like makes list building more versatile and flexible is a crit for me. Okay, well this is a big one, Mike. Those of you who are avid listeners of Legion podcasts and AMG interviews and what have you may remember that a scant few months ago on a Grey Squadron podcast, when the topic of riot control troopers came up for the first time, Will Schick responded to a very simple and normal question from GSG by going on an epic, I think like 45-minute or something like that. Will said on our podcast he's okay calling it a rant, so I'm gonna like repeat that word. That began the whole thing started, Mike, when he mentioned, well, one thing we could do for riot control is that we could give them an upgrade that would let them move speed 3. And you and I had very different responses to that, Mike. Like my response was, well, I think he was just like saying something off the top of his head. I don't think this is coming from anywhere. And Mike, the whole time you were like, I think he sort of previewed an actual thing that riot control is going to get.
I don't think game designers ever say something like that unless they've actually thought about it.
So I've learned something about Will Schick is that when it seems like he's BSing, he's actually maybe not. So that, hey, Will, if you're hearing this, just something for you to be careful of whenever you come on our podcast. Which, by the way, we are working on scheduling, talking with them. So we will hopefully be, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to come back next week with that, or maybe the week after. But we will be talking with them about all of this because I'm sure Mike and I are going to have lots of questions. So this one, we should say what the actual card is. So this is Imperial March. Good title, by the way. I should mention that I kind of wish Mission Objective was called Mission Oriented instead, but that's just me. So Imperial March. It is Imperial Core only. This card also has the stipulation, it is a training, but you may equip it even if you don't have a training slot on their unit card. So all the core have access to it. It is 6 points. When this unit makes a second move action during its activation, it increases its speed by 1 during that move action. Additionally, when this unit makes a move action during its activation, you may discard this card. If you do, this unit gains charge until the end of its activation. So there's a lot to unpack here. We should start with the obvious. Riot Control Squad will now have a speed 3 move as their second move.
I think this card is actually garbage on Riot Control.
Whoa, Mike, go ahead.
I don't think there's much else to say. I mean, I think the Riot Control needed to be cheap. We'll talk about that later.
Yes. Yeah,
but I don't think this.
They got more buffs than this for sure.
Yeah, I think if this was 2 speed, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but
you're gaining an extra 2 inches of movement.
You are for 6 points. You know,
I guess if you compare it to Tenacity,
Yeah.
Maybe tenacity is just better considering the fact that riot control is going to be affordable now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, so if you're going to take this on riot control, you have to take it on all of them, I think.
I agree.
Which means, and I think riot control is like, I think if you're playing riot control, you're probably taking at least 3 now. And again, this is kind of like foreshadowing later, but like, I'm not sure that you want to take them in a smaller number because they're pretty targetable otherwise. And,
Yes.
you know, like, so I think you kind of need volume, which means that, you know, you're paying like 20 points to give them like an extra couple inches. I'm not convinced that an extra 2 inches is going to really make or break what you got going on. I don't know. I guess it's 2 inches every turn, technically. I'm not convinced that this was their problem.
Yeah, I agree that if it was 2-3 speed 3 moves, then it would feel like a more obvious thing. That said, this does enable like any list that is doing anything like extra to get them forward, by which I'm talking about like a lat, which also got cheaper. We'll get to that later. Or if you're running the bigger squads, like you think about something like Ruthless to really like catapult them forward. I can maybe see it, but even then, honestly, if you're using Ruthless, you should probably be using Tenacity because you're guaranteeing a wound on your guy, and then like once you get in there, it's an extra red dice. So I do think it's going to be interesting to test out about whether that's what it's going to boil down to, right? Like, is a riot control squad, if they're going to spend 6 points on a training upgrade, do they want this or do they want Tenacity?
I think this is way more interesting on Shore Troopers.
I think it's way more interesting on Snow Troopers. You go first.
I think Snow Troopers are also interesting, but Shores still throw black dice in melee.
Ah, good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
And like they already start pretty close to your opponent.
Yes.
Like they can. Like imagine like a super shore squad that's got this. Like you could actually kind of maybe get aggro. I don't know. You know, like it's interesting. It also shores up the biggest issue with shores, and that like if
their inability
slow
to get on an objective when they really need to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. That's kind of like the immediate in charge is obviously like just, you know, Riot already has that. The other thing that I was thinking about is that this is, I think, quite literally the only upgrade you could put out in HRU.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. But I guess I don't know. Like,
I'm not sure
how often is an HRU double moving?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more like 6 points to give this unit charge, right? You know,
that's true.
Is it? And I think if you asked us Republic players, like, if you could pay 6 points to give your units charge, would you do it? The answer would be yes.
Yes.
The issue is that all the Imperial core units, other than riot control and shores, don't have a good melee attack, right?
Right.
So, like, do you really want them in melee if they suck there? You know, I don't know. I mean,
I'd say I agree. There's something to the shores. I did not think about the charge aspect, but it is true that they're the second best melee core unit in the Empire, and the other two are hot garbage in melee.
And if you've got 10 of them in a squad because you've taken the shore trooper upgrade or whatever, like all of a sudden you've got like you're
doing like a Wookiee hit kind of.
Yeah, you know,
it's not bad.
So you know, that's a very expensive squad still.
And it still does not surge to hit also.
Sure, but if you're going to pay the points for that already, like maybe. Yeah. You know, I don't know.
I mean, certainly like shore troopers have shaved off so many points, like especially if you're talking about running the supers, that thinking about putting this in there, it doesn't seem like a huge sacrifice. I was thinking of snows because guess what? They're double moving anyway. They have steady. And so like it obviously makes it, there actually may even be situations where if you're worried about them being shot off the table afterwards, if you have a flamer snow, you might actually want to take that charge since like their regular dice suck anyway. Their melee dice and their range dice are the same.
Flamer snow, I assume, works in melee.
Flamer does work in melee.
Yeah.
And so
it's been a while.
Yeah, exactly. Understandable. So, you know, with them, you may be able to just like get in there, do your flame attack and hide. But also for the Ion Snow, because now you're doing a speed 1 move and then a speed 2 move and then an ion shot. And that's making you really fast. That's so like you're functionally doing a little bit more than a speed 3 move and doing a shot when you put everything together, because you have the base of the mini added twice instead of the usual once, the length of the mini, I mean. And so it's like it's kind of giving them like Mandalorian range for move shoots anyway. You don't have the jump, obviously, but like that seems really good. Now, is it worth, the snowtroopers and their various heavies, they didn't get any points decreases. And so you do like have to step back and think, is it truly worth 6 points to be able to do that? Potentially. It's not it's not staple, but I do think probably especially for the flamers, because you need to get in there.
I think the flamers already want to be close. So
exactly.
That makes a lot more sense. I do think that the flamers nose is probably the one place where I'd be like, take this
maybe not
every
Ion
time.
Snows. You're right.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool with Ion, but I think you're right. And I will say that something else this card does is that it makes the unit that has it, especially if they're not a super squad, it makes them a very hungry suppression target. Because guess what? If you're suppressed, you're not getting a damn thing out of this card, except for maybe the charge.
I don't know. Like almost every Imperialist is running Vader or Krennic. Right?
Well, but those, so the Krennic, I guess, and then the Commander Vader, as long as he's nearby, he can do the compel. And so I guess that's true. So if you do the compel, and then does that count as the first action during its activation? I guess it does.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
If you do the compel move,
I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
That works. It works with compel. That's thematic and nice. Mike, I'm gonna give a crit on this one just because it, again, is fun, and I do especially like it on Flamer Snows. Verdict's out on whether it's like truly going to end up being worth it on Riot Control Squad, but don't worry, their solution is coming later. So yeah, like where are you going to land on this one?
I actually think this one is a miss.
Okay.
I
think your rationale is fair.
I could be wrong. I just I don't see there's not a use case on this that I'm like super excited about.
It also does nothing for regular stormtroopers, we should mention.
I have no desire to put my regular stormtroopers in melee anymore. Like zero, right? So I don't know. So I'm a miss. I could see it potentially being a hit, but it's definitely thematic. I'll give it that. If they ever get other core, I'm sure that they'll have other core.
There's going to be more tech with this. I can guarantee it.
Actually, before we move on, does this interact in any weird way with Remnant?
Only. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull up the Remnant Battle Force because I'm pretty sure
because if you can
interacts...
give Death Troopers charge, that could be quite good.
I think it only interacts in the way that it allows you to flex the heavy weapon on.
But doesn't it say you treat all of those units as core units for list building? In which case, when you're building a list and equipping this card to the unit,
is it for list building? But does list building include upgrades?
I would have. I mean, I can open up the thing and take a look real quick. This was a spur of the moment. I'm like, oh, maybe this actually has, and I guess by that token, no, the special scouts in Tempest are still special forces, right? They're not core options.
I believe they are. But yeah, we're doing some live fact checking here. Mike, I'll let you search for that, and so we're going to circle back to that one. But I'm going to start just talking about the last one on the first page, which is the first of 3 force upgrades, which is pretty cool. So this one is Terror. 6 points when an enemy unit within 2 and in line of sight of this unit makes a ranged attack. If that attack did not target this unit and this unit is not engaged, after that attack is resolved, the attacking unit gains 1 suppression token. Now, Mike, I hate to say it, this is my first very quick miss.
Oh yeah, this card is so bad.
This is bad card. Mike, why don't you tell everybody why this card is bad? Well, first, I'm sorry, AMG.
There are several reasons this card is bad.
That's accurate.
The first is if you have a force user, the last thing you're going to do is leave them unengaged.
Unengaged at range 2.
1 of an enemy unit.
Yes.
So that your opponent's entire army can shoot your most valuable piece. Number 1. Number 2, if your opponent actually cares about this, they can just engage the unit.
Keep going, Mike.
And shut it off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and number
3, the suppression comes after the unit is activated.
Well, and I would go even further than that. The effect isn't even that good.
So a suppression after you've activated it might come into play with objective scoring stuff, maybe it'll last until the next turn. But like if that unit doesn't get shot by anybody else, then the effect is completely gone by the end of the turn, and then you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I think we'll be able to move on from this one quickly. I think there's a double miss. AMG, if you're listening, here's how to make this card played. Make it free. If you make it free, then people who don't want to spend their force upgrades, like on the Inquisitors, for instance, will sometimes get something out of it. And that is going to be the only situation unless the text of the card changes. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, that's fair. I do think that this card probably should just lose the engaged text marker on it. It might be too good
but then
at
nobody
that
would
point.
be making range attacks again. You're right, because they could be making range attacks against other things.
Right.
So
And it's
that's
just
fair.
like they're scared of the thing that's in melee. That makes sense. It might
Right.
need to go up in points at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The engaged part really is what hurts it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's
Mike,
just
do we
like,
have a remnant verdict?
so sort of. I mean, I have the text of Remnant, and I think so. It says the following units count as core units for the purposes of army building: Scout Troopers and Imperial Death Troopers. So during the army building step, they count as core, and then when building an army, you have to include each unit that has a core rank, which includes Scout Troopers and Death Troopers, before you can start taking duplicates. So I don't know if you could equip it to them, and then it would fall off or something. This actually, I meant to mention this when we were talking about Trusted Agent. Can you take Trusted Agent on Shadow Collective Maul if you take the Darksaber? I'm not sure you ever would, because
It's
he's
like,
probably
what order?
what are the order of operations, right?
Yeah.
You probably never would, because I think tenacity is probably just stapled to him anyways.
I think so. Yeah.
Sorry, this is a command slot. Toss that out the window. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking. No, sorry, it's not Trusted Agent. Strike Team Leader. Strike Team Leader is what I'm
Strike
talking
Team
about.
Leader,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tenacity is stapled. So I just a similar question where since this stuff is only taking place in the list building, do these check in list building only, and then does it just once you get to the game and
it's a good question. It's one of quite a few rules questions that are coming out of all this. So, pour one out for Seth.
Yeah, because during an actual game with Remnant, you're using Special Forces tokens for the Death Troopers and the Scouts, right?
Yes.
So they're not actually core during the game. I don't know. Weird.
We will find out. Something that I hadn't mentioned with Imperial March is that a sort of funky interaction is that if you do a scout move with that unit, then your first move action would be your second. If you do a scout and then a move action, that would be your second, which would mean that a riot control squad, if you gave it recon intel, would actually be able to recon intel with a speed 1 and then do a speed 3 as its first move action and then do a speed 2. Of course, that wouldn't matter for them. And so, but where it could potentially matter if this remnant stuff goes through would be that a scout trooper unit would do a speed 3 scout move. And then if they couldn't equip Imperial March, then they could do a speed 3 move and then, stab you in the face maybe. So I don't know. That might be a thing. We'll have to see. We don't know how the remnant stuff is going to shake out.
This definitely feels like we need an FAQ on this.
Yes.
But
so
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there could be some cool stuff, and I'm sure we're going to go over like the clarifications in the next episode or the one after. So start of the second page, we got another big one, I would say. This is another like sort of like eye-catching one in the same way that the first couple on the first page were. So good job, AMG, in doing the order here. So dug in. This is a training, and once again, units may equip this card even if they do not have a training upgrade slot on their unit card. 6 points. Again, it's a very popular point value for this set. While this unit is in allied territory and does not have a face-down order token, it rolls red defense dice instead of white defense dice when rolling its cover pool, Mike, which for heavy cover makes it merely twice as good, but for light cover it actually makes it three times as good. Yeah. Because you're going from 1 block result to 3 on the red dice. Something I will quickly mention is that while we're talking, I'm actually going to see if I got clarification on this, because I did post about this, but it uses the word in instead of within. Yeah. When
they went to so much work trying to make sure our language
did all that work
to
get rid of everything except those 3 words, and then here we have something that's a part of all of those words, which is in. I think it probably means within, just like that if part of your unit is touching the allied territory, but I could see them changing it to completely within. Yeah. But Mike, what were your first thoughts on this one?
My first thought was actually completely unrelated to the actual effect of this card.
Okay, interesting.
My first thought was that this specifies as emplacement trooper or trooper unit with prepared position only, which suggests to me that there is an emplacement trooper that exists somewhere in playtesting that does not have prepared positions. Because right now they all do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been future proofing.
That seems like just weird that you wouldn't just be like, hey, everybody gets positions. Like everybody that has prepared positions could take this card, because that would be much simpler and has the exact same effect, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So unless they have like something in mind, I don't know. That was just the first thing that I thought. The second thing that I thought is this could be really busted. Old Legion kinds of busted as far as how this feels to shoot at an army that has
extremely good. Like this reminds me of what people would talk about when they talked about Terminators in 40K, where like the thing that I'm thinking of most of all here is, for instance, a clone marksman that has access to surge tokens, and then so in that situation, assuming you don't have any like tech to get past this, and by the way, if you're shooting into heavy cover, guess what? Your sharpshooter 1 sucks, because you're getting rid of the 1 surge results, and the 3 block results are still going to be there. So it's either like sharpshooter 2 or blast or nothing.
I think surge tokens aren't the problem. It's dodge tokens, because it checks after cover for dodges, right? So like.
That's true, but the surge token would affect like their ability to block on defense after the dodges, and
but you wouldn't even have to make an armor save roll.
That's true. But the thought of doing a 1 out of 3 followed by another 1 out of 3 is like sort of terrifying from a gameplay fun perspective.
But like I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not even sure you get to that point, because this is basically like, hey, clones, roll your armor saves before you spend your dodge tokens. Like, how many times, you're like, oh, there's like 8 coming through. Yeah. 2 are blank, but now I'm just going to spend dodge tokens instead of taking wounds. and then if the dodge tokens aren't enough, I'm just going to roll armor saves.
I guess, has there been, so in that way it's actually a little bit like Gonk on the AA5, where you would hunt for your crits and then they would just be like, okay, I'll just use my shields on your crits. And it's just like, no.
I think it's gonna be basically like old clone castles, like with barrier and the dodge token sharing, and like I'm not sure that that's actually how it's gonna play out. Because this does have some limitations, and like eventually you have to go with the unit, right? Like,
yeah, and clones don't have amazing access to dodge tokens.
I don't know. They've got clone captains that they can spam in every unit, and Ahsoka.
Yeah, that actually is pretty good. Never mind. I rescind my statement.
Yeah.
I was thinking about command cards, but you're right.
And if you want to get super spicy, you can also, like, if those units are that sturdy and defensible, the comms tech actually might be good in those units.
Oh. I don't know. It's still expensive. But,
It is. But if you're already like putting a captain in there to trigger defend, like triggering
it's
fire
true.
support too with like an Overwatch, all of a sudden seems real spicy. I don't know.
The thought I had just now was getting like 8 hits, and then getting rid of 5 of them from the cover roll, and then dodging 2 of them, and then Kenobi is like, I'll just deflect the last one and roll a surge, and just how about you take a wound back and I take nothing?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine shooting into like 4 or 5 clone marksmen with Kenobi backup?
I will say that like initially, I have been worried about marksman ever since I saw the unit card. I'm a lot less worried now. I can tell you that.
Less worried?
Well, I meant like I'm less worried that the unit's not going to be good.
Yeah,
I'm now worried the unit might be too good.
I mean, we'll see. I think, look, prepared positions units have been bad, like pretty universally.
Yeah. But this deals with the reason why we've been saying that they're bad this whole time, right? Is that they're too exposed at the very beginning of the game.
Yes.
And now they will no longer be. I do see a world, if this becomes a problem, where they change the text of this to be cheaper and make it only active during round 1.
I actually, the first time I read this, I was like, oh, that seems decent. And then I reread it and realized it was all game.
Oh, it's the whole game.
Yeah, which I don't think is particularly... I actually think it's much better on Empire and Republic units with prepared positions because they have range 4 on all of their guns. Or the option for range 4 on all their guns, I should say. I actually think that Rebel Vets and Mark IIs are getting the short end of the stick there a little bit because I think they actually are going to have to move out of the zone a lot of the time. To be effective.
I will say the veteran super squads can hang a guy range 1 back, and so they could still, if they don't have to be completely
that's
within.
how it works.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Mark IIs, yes, I think that they're going to be a little bit more hard pressed to stay relevant and get utility out of this card because of their range 3 nature. E-webs, though, primo. I think looking pretty good for E-webs.
I also think that this probably keeps your FD turret actually alive all game. Frankly,
yeah. Okay, so let's move on. I think that's a crit. It's crazy. It's a crit.
I think it's
maybe it'll be too much of a crit.
Yeah, I definitely think
too hot.
This is the card I'm most worried about.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is a light side force power Tranquility. This one is after it's 10 points, by the way. After an allied unit within 2 rallies, but before its make action step, I didn't know it was called that, by the way. I thought it was perform actions, but maybe I just didn't know. You may exhaust this card. If you do, roll a number of white dice equal to this unit's courage value. For
this unit being the Jedi.
This unit being the Jedi, yes. So for each block and surge you roll, again on these white dice, this unit and the allied unit remove 1 suppression token. When you would exhaust this card, you may instead discard it or use the X thing. If you do, roll a red defense dice instead of a white defense dice. Mike, we've brought balance to the Force, in my opinion, because I think this card is similarly not good to Terror. What do you think, Michael?
It's definitely better than Terror.
Okay.
Is it enough to take it out of the garbage can? I don't think so.
No. It's 10 points.
It's expensive. It's expensive for the effect, for sure. I don't think that this really is any good in Republic.
Yeah, you have to exhaust it. Hope is 3 points and it's Inspire 2.
Yeah. The thing about this is that it happens when you need it, right? Because this allows a unit to rally and then effectively attempt to rally again.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It's like a double rally. And like if you really need to, you can discard the card to like kind of ace the role. The issue is there's a couple things. The first is it requires you to be a range 2 of the unit that is in trouble.
Right.
Which, at that point in the game, if your Jedi is probably embedded in the opponent's army, and if you've got a unit that is panicked, it's probably not range 2 of your Jedi.
Your Jedi may be soloing one side of the board at that point.
Right? Yeah. And even if it's not, like if they're like panicking a unit, it's probably a decent bit away because they're shooting at it, not meleeing it, right? And even when you get there, like, this is not, I don't know. This is generally going to be, the text on this effectively says, on average, remove 1 additional suppression token by exhausting this card for 10 points. Sometimes you're going to spike it. Sometimes you're going to remove none. And if you want to discard it, you can get, on average, 2. I don't know.
You know what's funny? I think the list where this card might have gotten the most utility is actually Isaiah's world list. Because Obi-Wan does want to hang around his guys all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Isaiah wasn't using any, like, he used barrier. He wasn't using force push. He could have had barrier and this. Of course, then he would only get to use this once because he only has Master of the Force once.
I'm going to be honest, though.
I don't know.
I've played a lot of clones this edition. The amount of times that I've had issues with suppression
is
like,
very little.
It's just like, it doesn't really. I don't know.
Usually when you do, it's because they were shot after activation anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think if this is cheaper, I could see more of an argument for it than I see for Terror. Unlike Terror, it doesn't have like a piece of the text that gets in the way of the function of a Jedi in and of itself. And so I think if it was like just a cheaper Force upgrade, then there would be like more potential to squeeze some utility out of it.
I mean, I think the issue with both of these upgrades is that they're Force upgrades that don't instruct you to have a plan.
Yeah.
Force upgrades are proactive, generally speaking. Even Force Barrier is a proactive piece in that if you're putting it in your list, you have a plan for what you're doing with Force Barrier, right?
Yeah, that's true.
These are like, fell into this thing and I have an escape hatch.
It's very situational.
And
it's
just
like
like
an escape hatch you may not need for like half the games you play.
And that's just like not what the Force slot is.
That's not how the Force works.
It's not how the Force works.
So yeah, I guess we're both a miss on this one, sadly. Tranquility was also a lame upgrade in X-Wing, just as a fun fact. Okay, so extra supplies. This is our first and only gear upgrade. 5 points. There's no restrictions on it, so anybody who's gearing up can go ahead and take this. At the end of this unit's activation, you may discard this card. If you do, ready one of its non-Force upgrades. So this was another one where I literally just like have not had the time or mental space today to think about like the potential combos for this, but you probably have.
Yep.
So I'm going to pass the floor to you, Michael.
Sure. I think the most obvious use for this card is specialists that grant you aims, dodges, surges, and stuff. It allows you to untap them and use them again. It's weird. I was like trying to find like the most broken thing I could do with this today, because this feels like something that like there's got to be something in the game.
There's got to be something
that's like amazing. The best thing that I've found so far is Sabine's whipcord. She does have multiple gear slots. She can take this and the whip, and refreshing it for free seems kind of good. Sabine's whip has been kind of like pretty. It's never been like a staple, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But like if you could refresh it for 5 points as a free action, basically, would it be? Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know, particularly at a new price point. So there's that. There's some other stuff, like you can refresh offensive push with this by paying the cost again.
Most of the cost again.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. I haven't found. I was like, oh man, what if you could refresh a commando gun with them? And then I realized they don't have a gear slot, like. That the options that I've found for this are pretty limited. I will say that I think is it Saxon who has a gun that had the exhaust?
I think he does.
I think like his like rocket launcher flamer thing, maybe
the rocket's exhaust.
Yeah,
the rocket's exhaust. The flamer you have to discard.
Yeah, so like I don't know. Do you want to pay 10 points to I don't know,
I do I do like the specialist angle.
It definitely,
'Cause-
yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not really sure that it's good.
Yeah, I think it's an option. I think it's gonna be for like very specific builds. I think that like the argument you can make for a specialist, for example, so a clone, the extra guy in a clone squad is 13.
Yeah.
A clone specialist is 17, so that's the value of the extra guy, and then you're basically getting like a discount and a more flexible version of offensive push, even though you're usually going to use it for an aim anyway. And then this like squeezes a little bit more value by giving you another slight discount on what offensive push would be. It does seem like you're investing a lot into like a couple aim tokens at that point, and we've talked about how the aim token is often overvalued in this game, just like in general.
This is also worse than offensive push in that it requires the unit to live long enough to use it twice.
That is.
I will say the first thing I tried to mess around with this was E-stims, but the timing does not work.
Right. So yeah, I think that this is one of those upgrades where like when you look at Star Wars Unlimited cards, there's often a card where you like look at it and it's kind of lame now, but you're like, in the future this card could actually be really good. And this card is sort of in that zone. There, if in the future there's more exhaustible upgrades that would make you think about including this. Things along the lines of HQ uplink, it's just that most of the time when you're using HQ uplink, it's not in a unit that you would also like want to put this on, or you would even be able to put this on because vehicles don't have gear slots, et cetera, et cetera. There's more value in the future. I think that there's definitely a couple of things you can do now though.
This feels like a card that was in the hopper before they took exhaust off everything.
yeah. Like it would have been great on like a rocket launcher. Or like an ion gun.
Yep.
But yeah, you don't even need it anymore. Okay, let's go to the.
I will just take a step further.
Yeah.
It does allow you to re-up HQ uplinks without recovering them.
It does, which would matter on like a vet squad with the comms guy, if you're doing that sort of thing, and so it allows you to sort of move instead of recover, which is probably a good thing. So I'm gonna say it's a hit. Like it gives you some list building options, and but it's nothing that's like crazy to me. So Tranquility,
No, we already talked about Tranquility.
Sorry, Clairvoyance. That wasn't seeing far enough ahead. So Clairvoyance is 10 points, and third time's the charm, Mike, in terms of force upgrade that people will play. When this unit attacks or defends, it may expend this card or discard this card at the start of the modify attack dice or modify defense dice step. If it does, it rerolls all its attack or defense dice, then converts any surges. The modified attack or defense roll cannot be further modified. So those out there who are playing MCP, there is a card that is just like this called Recalibration Matrix, where it basically like gives you a full reroll once, and then you can't do anything with those dice again. And so this is basically similar to that. You do get to do your surge conversion, but I guess this would mean that you couldn't do critical conversion if it's like critical 2 or whatever.
So I had a question about this because it says then converts any surges. That says to me that you convert the surges in the pool.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way. I thought it would just use the surge chart that was naturally on the unit, but
I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen this language used before. It like wouldn't it just say reroll all your attack and defense dice?
I guess like the reason why that matters is that it would disallow you using an aim token after you do the Clairvoyance reroll.
You mean like okay.
Or like there's no dodge equivalent of an aim, or it would be like Ceresu. Like I don't know the timing of the reroll in Ceresu, like whether you can do Ceresu first and then this on Obi-Wan, but yeah, like I guess that is yet another open rules question is like, does this mean that, for instance, it would allow a Jedi to get a free surge conversion on melee defense when they normally would not? that would be the main reason why this would matter, of course.
Yes.
Pretty much all the Jedi are converting on surges on attack, but like even for them, this would be good because it would allow you to reroll a flubbed attack dice roll, which would often be a thing that you would value. I think that so like with this one, Mike, I think that the potential value, whether or not it like does the surge conversion thing, is definitely right there. But the question is, and I think this is an interesting question, is like which are the Jedi that would rather have this than another force slot that is already occupado for them? And I actually think this is mostly for the cheaper Jedi. What do you think, Mike?
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. I think this card is kind of bad.
Whoa! It is 10 points, to be fair.
Yeah,
it is expensive for a rescue card, which I think it would mostly be for a defense reroll, personally, unless the guy's about to die anyway, and then you would like use it to make sure your last attack is good, I guess. If it does convert the surges, like if this meant that fifth brother still sucks too much, honestly. If this meant that seventh sister,
I think if this means Darth Vader surges to defense and melee, like
then that's something.
That now we're talking a little
bit. Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure where I want this. So I'm not sure that I want my cheap Jedi to be more expensive for not any more utility.
So what about operative? Operative Luke typically has burst, push, and usually a mind trick, which is great. But like this, especially if it converts the surges on melee, this would potentially be more valuable than mind trick as using that slot.
Maybe.
On operative Luke.
Here's the thing, and I don't want to be mean to people. This is an upgrade.
It just happens by accident with you, Mike. It's okay.
I know. This feels like an upgrade that is a crutch. This is a crutch upgrade. This is a I don't know how to play my Force user upgrade. Therefore, I'm going to take a 10-point really upgrade to keep them alive, and whereas like if you are properly playing your Jedi, they frankly shouldn't die most of the time anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly situations where, like, you roll a 1 out of 6 on your defense roll.
Sure, yes,
and it just happens, and then you're about to die, and then this would be a get out of jail card for that, which does feel very attractive. But like, yeah, to me, the question is more like about for the expensive Jedi, you're competing for 4 slots. So like, with Anakin, for instance, would I really want to get rid of burst or pushed? Like, no, I don't think so.
That's sort of what I mean. Like,
Dooku, maybe, like, there is an argument for like you don't really need burst on Dooku if you're like scouting him up with a crab droid. And
how often? But let me ask you this question.
Yeah,
how often does your Dooku die? That's the question. Like, this card is attempting to solve a problem you're having, right? And it's if your Jedi dies all the time, this is a potential solution. But if you play 10 games and your Jedi only dies once or whatever, like, this card isn't for you, right? And so I think it's a nice option for players that have a harder time playing Jedi. And
gosh, Mike.
The reason that I'm emphasizing that is because I hear people complaining that Jedi are like not good all the time and that they have trouble playing them and that they die. Right? Is that not a thing that we hear?
It is
on the
thing.
regular.
It is a thing.
Okay, so I don't know. That's how I feel about this card. It's fun.
It is, but like even the most experienced players make mistakes, and so like you could think of it as like you could think of it as a crutch. I guess like another way you could think of it is like I said, a get out of jail, a get out of variance free card.
If you
because stuff does happen. Like not every Jedi surges to defense all the time, like Dooku does with 6 health.
Sure.
So again, like I think operative Luke, especially if it converts the surges on defense,
if you have
would potentially be an example.
An empty Force slot, and an extra 10 points lying around to spend on nothing else.
Yeah,
you could take this card. I think that it's even reasonably like decent at that point. I just like generally like if I'm taking a Jedi, I'm filling their 4 slots already. My Jedi don't leave home with empty 4 slots.
That is fair. Okay, so I'm a hit on this one. It sounds like you might be a miss.
Yeah, I feel like this is just as much of a miss as the other two.
But hey, this is why we have a podcast. We got some different opinions, and that's okay. You bastard. Okay, so the second to last of the new upgrades is Spotter Uplinks. This is a comms upgrade. It's 3 points, only 3 points. So if this unit is not in melee, when another allied unit declares an attack against an enemy unit that is within range 1 and in line of sight of this unit, the attacking unit gains Sharpshooter 1. So this is almost like it's like sort of a super observe. This is a very thematic card. I really like it a lot. And it's funny that like my first thought when I saw this, I had two thoughts, and then the first one made me sad. The first thought was Flutter Bombers, but it made me sad when I remembered that like they're not getting like the cool bonus that all the other speeders are getting, really. But the other thought was just like something like a lat that is kind of hanging around. Often after it drops off its payload, it's just like sort of chilling and taking shots and moving, and it's usually contesting.
Sure.
And it's at a certain point, it's sort of just like daring your opponent to just like waste the time to kill it. But something else it could be doing to help, and because a lat is definitely never going to be in melee, is that it can just be like it can be giving sharpshooter to your whole army to anything that's within range 1, which for a lat is a lot. Nice. So there's probably more uses for it, but that was the first thing I thought of, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think things that can't end up in melee are obviously like that's the biggest. Well, there are two big issues with this card.
Yeah.
The first is that like the melee clause is actually similar to Terror, kind of problematic for turning the effect that you want on. So yeah, I think aerial vehicles like air speeders or lats, this is probably best on.
Yeah.
It is pretty cheap, but Sharpshooter 1 just is. It's not what it used to be.
I think, are we thinking too much of Dug In when we talk about the value of Sharpshooter 1 these days?
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't value Sharpshooter 1 highly at all anymore.
It hasn't been too long since you were shooting 4 people with 5 of 1st snipers and like hitting them all the time. I feel like maybe it's just been too long since you were doing that, because like Sharpshooter 1 is pretty good.
I didn't play that list. I don't think that was the best configuration of Republic at the time.
What, one with that had 4 strike teams in it?
Yeah. No, I never played that list.
Oh wow, okay. I'm thinking of Austin. Austin definitely played that list.
No.
I did play that list a couple times, and it made me feel like I was just like getting a free 2 wounds all the time. At the time, things have changed. Yeah. But Sharpshooter 1, it decreases their ability to get cover by half unless they're dug in.
But let's outline the environment that this is happening.
Sure.
Right? So your lat, let's just use the lat as an example. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of turn 2 at the earliest when this is turned on, right?
For sure.
It's not turned on turn 1, which is the biggest cover kind of like turn. Turn 2, you're probably not going first with your lat. Maybe you are, though, with all the new... we'll see.
To make sure it doesn't die and you get to use your bunker busters or whatever.
Well, I think lats are like pretty good after this update, but we've got one more upgraded card to talk about. But I don't know. I think generally, like, once you're getting into like the later turns of the game, Sharpshooter becomes less relevant generally because everything's so close, and I don't know. It's cheap though. It's 3 points. It is. I do think that this is something like throw smoke grenades in my lists all the time to just fill out some points. If I have a lat in my list, am I going to throw a spotter uplink in there instead? Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Like, will I remember it? Probably not.
This upgrade is way less good, we should mention, on any troopers that can take a comms upgrade because they can just be meleeed. It's even less good on like your non-hover air vehicles, because they can be meleeed pretty easily. Yeah. And they often have an incentive to be meleeed, like a speeder bike. If you can charge a speeder bike, you're doing great. Yeah. And so this does sort of, it feels like a hover air. It feels like an immune melee unit boost, because those are the ones that are never going to be at risk of it getting turned off.
I'm gonna be honest. All of that aside, the theme or whatever is, I don't really understand what's going on here, because generally like a spotter is like not like right up against whatever they're spotting. It's like, I'm calling in the ordnance. It's right on top of me, guys. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just,
it has sort of like a Helldivers feel. It's
Yeah.
like just call everything directly onto my position. Yeah. So like RIP to the the lats that are diving in for the benefit of their trooper. But here's the immediate thought that I had though, Mike, is a lat just like hanging out on the middle point and close of the pocket, and then Cody keeps doing a sharpshooter one shot after being triggered by his 2-pip over and over and over again by shooting in there.
I mean, that's a thing that could happen.
It's a thing that could happen. It's it's 3 points. So like you said, if you have 3 points and you have a lat, maybe toss it on there.
It's pretty free, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know.
Speaking of things that you're probably going to be thinking of tossing on there if you have a lat, we have the last upgrade, which is door gunners. This is a crew upgrade, but once again, Mike, units with the transport keyword may equip this card even if they do not have a crew upgrade slot on their unit card. And I should also mention that this is only eligible for units that have the transport keyword, which is just the bus and the lat, right? Am I missing anything? Maybe the speeder.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Oh, sorry,
missing
the
things.
snail.
The snail, the Gav tank.
The gas, sorry. God, I'm missing a lot of things.
Right?
Maybe the speeder tank is going to have it. We don't know yet.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. The X-34 does not have transport anymore, so that's a good thing to remember. But Mike was initially very excited.
I was like, oh my God, land speeder.
Land speeders are crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so what does it actually do? After this unit makes an attack action during its activation, if it did not add this weapon to an attack pool during that attack action, it may make a free attack action using only this weapon, even though it has already made an attack action this turn. And the weapon is a mounted blaster, which is range 1 to 2, fixed sides, which I think is the first time we've had a side weapon in this game. And it is 2, there's no weapon keywords, it's 2 black dice, 2 white dice. And if I had mentioned this is a 12-point upgrade. So this is like, I will say that this is truly turning the lat especially into something that you can actually call a gunship without sort of like chortling when you call it a gunship.
Throws 11.
Right. And so that like part of it, I mean, yeah, like it throws 11 dice, and granted the lat does not have any natural surge conversion. So that's something that we should mention as an aspect of this. And in fact, the only way so the snail will have surge conversion, and the Gav with the hammers pilot will have surge conversion.
Mm-hmm.
But the lat and the bus do not have any surge conversion. So with them, it's like a straight up 2 white, 2 black, which is okay. But it is extra dice.
It is extra dice, and notably, even though it's sides only, you can sort of do the Armada thing where you set it, you like double arc them, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
Which
and in that situation, if you really wanted to, you could arsenal it along with like the main gun. But I don't think there would ever be a reason to do that, honestly.
No, yeah, I think I think maybe everything but the bus has arsenal 2 already, and has multiple guns that it can shoot.
Right.
So like, yeah, I definitely think that this is just like you shoot this after you've shot your main guns, thing, and you get to put down extra suppression. This is even an attack action, which means it's a second trigger of clone shock trooper pilot.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's 2 surges, right?
Yeah, and it is a second attack to triggers Cody's 3-pip.
Yeah.
For those getting really spicy. I mean,
of course, it means that you're not doing ISPs, which means that you're not beam attacking to triggers 3-pip over and over again.
Sure, yeah.
But it is cool.
Yeah. I mean, this upgrade is really cool. I think everybody's been asking for the lats to be able to shoot out their doors since they came into the game.
It hasn't felt like a gunship until now, and I think it does.
Yeah. Whether this upgrade is worth 12 points, open question, I think. I think it's probably worth it if you've got the shock trooper pilot.
Yeah, I think that, and with the Imperial lat, maybe a little bit of a tougher sell because it's not like getting extra oomph out of like doing the extra attacks. But I mean, if you're going to use an Imperial lat anyway, then spending 12 points on an extra attack every turn is not bad.
Yeah, I definitely.
And if you're using the TIE pilot, you might be able to like speed 3 onto the board and be like
shooting that turn,
rooting, shooting right there in turn 1. You know,
totally. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that this is a crit. I think it's definitely a hit.
I think it's a crit because it's making the lat more playable, and that alone is like enough to make me happy. But that's just a personal feeling.
Sure.
This is we're now going to talk about the thing that like normally would have generated a ton of news on its own, which is that there is a points rebalance where a lot changed. But we had to talk about those upgrades because those are the things that are sort of like actually creating new options, whereas these points changes are they're creating new options too, sometimes taking old options that were too easy away. But let's get right into it. We're going to just like do this one whole faction at a time so that we can be a little bit speedier. But we're going to start with the Republic. We're going to end with the real business, which is Empire. So that way we got something to build to. So Republic, ARC Troopers up 6, the main unit. Echo, however, down 6. ATRT, the main unit does not appear to have changed, even though I think the article suggested that
the article copy pasted. It's
got it. Okay, so the main unit did not change cost. The laser cannon is up 5, 10 to 15. The rotary blaster is down 5, 20 to 15, so that now all of the weapons cost the same. Bark Speeder, main unit, down 6, 65 to 59. Ion Gunner, down 4 to 21. RPS down 4 to 14. Twin Laser Gunner, the one that everybody always forgets about, down 3 from 15 to 12. Cody, the world's winning Commander Cody, down 10. So, hey, we're going to talk about that. The LAT, we were just talking about that they have a couple of new upgrade options that are sweet. Down 10, 100 from 100 to 90. Padme Amidala, who also has a couple of new upgrade options, also got cheaper from 60 to 52. 52, Mike. Now officially the cheapest unit in the Republic faction, I should mention. And maybe Markson will be cheaper. Fingers crossed. Yoda went from 170 to 150. And Mike, so now we're going to talk about these. We have to start there, Mike. Yoda, is the clock done being reset? Yes or no?
I don't think so. I
knew you were going to say this.
I don't really. I started building Yoda lists today immediately. It was the first thing I started doing.
Okay.
20 points in Republic is just like not enough. It's also like a hard wash with the ARC Trooper nerf, which it's like you can take Yoda, but we made the stuff that you're gonna put in your list too. Basically this cost of Yoda, so if you want to take Yoda and have it be any different, you can't take good stuff.
It actually, Mike, it is a 2-point decrease if you're taking 3 ARC Troopers.
Sure, whatever. I was thinking about it for a while today.
Yeah.
I actually think what they should do is just make guidance a free action and put Yoda at whatever cost that is good at. Seriously, how many times have you guidance with Yoda in the new edition? Like playing Yoda. Like I think I can count them on one hand, and I don't think it gets close to 5. You know, like that keyword is basically dead on his card, and they might as well remove it.
You guidance a move when you need a trooper to dive on a point, or maybe you guidance to recover if a trooper is about to panic.
Assuming Yoda's close enough to do it.
Assuming they're close enough, exactly. It's pretty rare. You're never doing it for like tokens. If you are, like, I think you're crazy. But okay, I'm gonna say this. I half agree with you. I agree with you when it comes to regular Republic lists. Is that it does feel like the arc increase like almost washes it out. You know, who knows? Like there could be stuff with the unit with Yoda and the 5 Super Squad and the Ahsoka Super Squad. Could be some stuff there because then you're not worrying about the arc cost being up. But the thing that caught my interest about this is actually Wookiee defenders. And I know I'm like a one-track mind when it comes to this stuff, but when Yoda changed, I dropped him from ever really thinking about him in defenders lists because before he was enabling like 2-pip. Double attack relentless Wookiees with bowcasters, and that was rad, and that was like pretty sick. But then, of course, after that, nothing. Now, Now he is not as restrictive as far as that goes. And it even made me think about, like you mentioned arcs. It made me think about the possibility of, I know you're gonna think this is crazy, but like with my one arc unit, maybe I could put Echo in there because that actually cost the same as it did before. But that's not the real thing, Mike. The real thing is that Yoda now gives 20 points of flexibility back to a Wookiee list, and maybe the easiest way to say this is that I can take the old, like my original Yoda list, and like that I had at the very beginning of 2.6, which I liked a lot. And it's true that I still don't have that 2-pip fun that I used to have, but now I get to put 3 free moves on all of my Fluttercraft, and then I still have 5 points left over to spend on whatever I figure out. And so now, like, I'm thinking of that list that I really did like at the beginning of 2.6, and it is like with a less functional Yoda, but with 3 more functional Fluttercraft, and I'm like starting to think that there might be something to it.
So I'm going to ask you one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, like, aren't you just going to replace them with a generic Jedi, like basically immediately?
It depends. It depends on what the generic Jedi looks like. Maybe, it's true that his 2-pip does still have utility, for like letting that unit like do a shot on the way in.
Sure.
Of course, they took away battle meditation. Shit, I just remembered that. They took away battle meditation.
Yes, it doesn't exist anymore.
Damn it.
like
Okay. Listen, I'm going to try it out. I'm
not saying
20
it's
points
not...
is a lot. It is a lot. 20 points is a lot.
It is a lot. I don't think there are other characters that we're going to talk about that lost more and maybe deserved it less.
We are definitely going to talk about that, and in fact, we should keep moving. I think that it is worth consideration now, and I personally wouldn't have said that before, despite all the people out there who thought differently, including our own Isaiah, even though he learned the hard way that he was actually wrong. Sure. So Padme, I think we've already talked about her. She has these new upgrade options that give her versatility. I think that the retinue one is maybe like the most obvious.
It's not a coincidence that her points cost dropped the exact same as that card's cost, I think. That seemed...
Yeah.
I think that seems pretty clear to me. That does not seem like a coincidence.
You can think of it as the old Padme getting retinue, whatever special forces you want, and that would have made her quite a bit more attractive.
I think it's basically like she kind of has Exemplar back a little bit.
It is kind of like that. I guess, like, what unit were you thinking of most when it comes to this? Like, I still think Secret Mission is bunk on her for multiple reasons, especially that you have to play her crappy 3-pip with the first turn.
Sure, but you can put trusted agent on her and hand like Bad Batch in Order or something now. On the turn you play
that is true. That is true. But the first thought I had was actually like, is it crazy to say ARF Troopers?
No, that's the first place I went was Echo's cheaper. Handing ARF Troopers aim tokens seems good.
Is the Echo super unit worth consideration for the first time now?
I think the answer is maybe. I think arcs are maybe too aggressive for Padme's retinue.
Yeah, because Padme doesn't want to be moving up with them. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And same with Wookiees, honestly.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So sort of an ARF buff like the retinue Padme.
I think so.
I think so too. I
also think just taking like a naked ARF unit and handing them an aim token every turn is also like not the worst thing to be doing.
Yeah, it's not bad, and especially fingers crossed if Cumbersome gets the sort of long hinted at fix that we're still sort of waiting on. Okay, so as far as the rest goes, I'm going to sort of summarize my thoughts by saying I think that the value of the naked bark went up. The jury, I think, is still out on the heavy weapons. Like, is that new upgrade enough to save them from the fact that the speed 2-ness is what usually leads to their untimely death? I don't know. It's possible. I don't think so. I still don't think that it's amazing to take the weapons on a bark, but 59 points if you're tripling up naked barks, like that is starting to look pretty attractive, Mike.
I was taking them at 65. Like the fact that they got a decrease, I was like blown away by.
They weren't getting played much, but that could be that could be because people just like weren't making the right choices.
Yeah, I definitely think that there was like, I mean,
There was an era where commandos were taking all the slots anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And I think people are still married a little bit to that idea. And
ATRTs are going to be less common.
That was the other thing. ATRTs were also like, I think the only reason a Republic ATRT got nerfed was because the upgrades are shared.
But sorry, I should confirm. So did the Republic cost go up for the base ATRT?
No.
Or was it just
no.
Just the laser cannon
weapons.
went up?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, like the Republic Flamer RT is still the same cost, which was my favorite one anyway.
Sure.
But like, if you're just like wanting to activation pad, I no longer think the RT is the choice. I think the Bark is the choice.
Yeah. No. I mean,
it maybe always was.
I mean, I think generically the ATRT is like something that if you're taking it, you kind of needed a plan. The Bark was kind of like you can just throw it in any old list and it'd do fine, right?
It's As a reminder, the Bark is faster than most of the than all the other like sort of standard speeder bikes in the game, such as the Swoop and Imperial speeder bikes, because there's a larger base, which means that with 3 moves it is very fast. And a naked Bark does not have a great attack dice. It is better in the world of like new cover, but it's very fast and it's not super easy to kill outright.
No,
you have to invest a little bit of effort.
It's a stormtrooper squad with a heavy weapon that always has cover.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
I still wish
cheaper.
Yeah, I still wish the weapons gave an extra health because like wouldn't that make sense? Anyway, the RT we've already kind of talked about. I think that like now even more than before, you just need a plan. And I think that that's the main thing to say about it. And so ARC Troopers, there's 2 things to talk about. One, do you think that, here's the important one, do you think ARC Troopers needed a 6-point nerf?
I'm really conflicted about this.
I'm really conflicted too.
I think that this nerf has the potential, and I'm not saying it will. I think this nerf has the potential to put Empire under the table, or Republic under the table, because I really think ARC Troopers were the thing that was holding them up.
They were,
and I'm not finding 20 points in a Republic list is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. This feels like I understand why it happened. I definitely was not convinced it needed to happen.
It creates this weird situation where like, I don't know, the medic and the commander slot, like that felt like it was too much, or like it was too good for 20. And then this is increasing the cost of the whole unit. I don't know. My brain is sort of like going back and forth a little bit. But anyway, like it remains to be seen. It could very well be. I had the same thought when I saw this. Like it is possible this will sort of push Republic to the bottom. Even if it does, though, I think it's like pushing it to the bottom of a spread that will be like more even than it was before. I think. Republic still has a lot of strong options, especially when we talk about the Ahsoka super core. When we talk about like Anakin's still very good, Bad Batch is still very good. We're about to go to Clone Marksman, which might be very, very good as far as we can tell. So like it's true. And then the generic Jedi, like who knows? So it's too soon to say because there's so many variables that are about to hit, especially for Republic in the next couple months. But it's definitely at this exact point in time, it feels like the faction is on the whole a little bit worse. That said, we've also created new options for like the rest of the faction that wasn't doing arc spam.
Republic lists are definitely going to look different.
They're going to look different, and that's maybe what they wanted. Yeah.
501st definitely is worse. Like that's pretty much.
Is 501st now the second best Republic battle force, Mike?
No, I mean, it's still better than Wookiees, for sure.
Damn it. I was hoping you'd admit it. Okay, we should move on to the next faction, which is Separatist. Fewer changes here, but one of them especially stands out to me. I bet you can guess which one. So Asajj Ventress went down by 15, from 130 to 115. Droidekas went up by 7. Poggle went down by 25. This is a really epic decrease in points. Staps went down by 10, 80 to 70. And Sun Fac also went down by 25. Mike, what was if there was a thing that sort of made your eyes bulge out Tex Avery style among these, which was it?
I just don't understand how like Poggle and Sunfac lost like what is that? 30% of their cost, and Yoda only lost 20. Like I don't. Nobody was complaining about these characters, really, at least to my understanding. Like, were they? I don't know.
Is this prep? Is this prep for a Geonosian Battle Force that is going to do something that is going to, for some reason, make them want to be cheaper? I have no friggin' idea. Actually, honestly, all three of the characters like made my eyes bulge out a little bit because I felt like Asajj was okay.
Yeah, she's fine.
Down 15 just feels like a lot.
She's in Ahsoka realm now, which I think is a good place for her to be. You know,
yeah,
that's where she should be. But honestly, Sunfac at 55, like,
you can just toss that in there now.
This is like kind of like continuing on a road of inflating separatist activation counts. Like, I could see just throwing Poggle and Sunfac in lists just as cheap activations. They're fast. Yeah. They're, Sunfac can kill some stuff, I don't know.
I think Sunfac is going to be replacing a few of the naked Geonosian squads that were getting tossed in to CIS lists.
I could see that.
Just to add mobility. And now you can do that with something that doesn't degrade and that has more health.
And he also hands them an order.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you replace one, like if you were peppering in 2 Geo squads, you replace one with Sunfac, and then the other one's getting free order.
Yep.
It's not bad.
No.
So yeah, there's, and like, it's worth remembering that basically a list that was completely Geos and Staps did get top 4 at LVO earlier this year.
Yeah.
So that list is now like,
it's almost 100 points cheaper.
It's almost 100 points cheaper. it's like, yeah, I think it's literally 80 points cheaper, which is kind of wild. So maybe keep your eye out for Geos. Otherwise, I think I'm just gonna say deck is going up by 7. It feels perfect to me. We'll see if maybe it's like 2 points too much, but is that gonna be noticeable? Like when I was thinking about Decas, I was like, this is a 65 point unit.
Yeah, I mean,
but this seems fine.
21 points is easy to find in Separatists.
Yes, it is. It is. I think they're still very good. I think that this does the thing intended, which is that this makes it a more difficult choice when you're like weighing the Deca versus Crab.
Yep.
A situation, especially. I think it definitely makes the Crabs like more attractive, and of course it makes Staffs more attractive, given that they're 10 points cheaper. They still die extremely quickly, but at 70 points, when you can chain the orders,
they can trigger Agile 3 times while shooting now too.
That's true, and if you have HQ uplink on the start of the chain and then you have the free move thing, then you can be squeezing some value out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So something to think about. I think that stat lists are like firmly now in the realm of like viable.
Yep.
That's how it feels to me. So that is good. Okay, next, Mercenaries. Nothing but buffs, Mike, for Mercenaries, which is probably good given sort of the current state of Shadow Collective, where it was starting to feel a little bit rough. And I think it was just in the last episode that was released before this where we mentioned that Pikes felt like they were punching under their weight class. They went down by 2, and the Disruptor went down by 2. So, sort of the old school Pike unit went down by 4. Mandalorian Super Commandos, which I thought that they were fine. They went down by 4, which is modest, but something. And then on Maul, who, was sort of, I think Maul was in that middle zone between, there was generally a feeling that there's a bunch of Jedi that are like definitely good, and then there's a bunch of Jedi that we certainly used to feel were like definitely bad. And that Shadow Collective Maul was sort of halfway in between those two zones for me anyway. Darksaber's free now, so that's 10. That's a 10. It's functionally a 10-point buff to Maul, and so what stands out to you here more than anything? Because I'm curious if we have different answers on this.
So this nets you like 50 points in like a Pike Super Commando Maul list.
It does.
I just don't know what you do with it. Like where do you turn around and reinvest those points? Like you can't really buy another Pike squad with it.
Well, but like I don't think you were ever spamming disruptor pikes. Not like not like the good old days, Mike, when mauling a bunch of disruptor pikes was just ripping over everybody. In this day and age with this game, when you have to be contesting points up close,
Sure.
I think spamming disruptor pikes is probably a bad idea.
In that case, like I'm not really sure like what these changes were doing, because like 2 points off a pike that you're only taking like 1 or 2 of is basically like whatever.
I mean, the thing that it does is like I'm kind of not really thinking about the pikes like too much here, because my favorite pike right now is the whip, and so the whip pike unit only went down by 2 points.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't feel like, and so if you're really spamming them, you're talking about like 10 or maybe even 12 points shaved off of that list, which is like a little bit. But the thing that really stood out was just that like a list that was decent if you knew what you were doing. It's sort of it's a high skill list, but a Maul plus like quad Mando list, or a Maul and triple Mando maybe. And so in that situation, you're talking about saving 26 points.
Sure.
And that could mean shield generators for your Mandos. It could mean it could mean like a gun for your bus. Like it's nothing that's gonna shake the world, and so along those lines, it does actually make me wonder: is this going to be enough for Shadow Collective?
That's sort of what I'm trying to say. Is that like I mean, like, is it good? Yeah, sure. Like I don't see these points changing anything intrinsic about the problems that Shadow Collective is facing.
Yeah, I mean, it may be until the weak ways and the speeder tank come out that Shadow Collective truly has the options that it needs to thrive out there.
That's very possible.
That said, the swoops are also getting the free move thing, which I think is quite good on swoops, because
it is for sure.
The swoops, unlike the Fluttercraft bomber, they actually use their guns.
Yes.
So like all that put together, it expands the options. It's obviously like, Shadow Collective is the only faction that, or I guess Empire got pure buffs also, never mind. But Shadow Collective got pure buffs, and so that's never a bad thing. It's just a question of, is it going to be enough? So we'll see. But it's good that players have more options, but sure, it's like relatively tame one way or another. Okay, so we're going to move on to the ones that are maybe a little bit spicier. Rebel Alliance. Okay, the winner of biggest, sorry, I guess it's sort of a tie for biggest points decrease with her partner in crime. Is Ahsoka Tano, down by 30 from 145 to 115. We'll get to her, but ATRT, this base unit did go up by 4 points from 50 to 54, and then the laser cannon once again went up by 5 from 10 to 15.
The laser ATRT is 69 points.
Nice. The rotary blaster went down, and Mandalorian Resistance down by 6 points. Sorry, the rotary blaster went down by 5, just like the Republic one did. Mando Resistance down by 6. Rebel Veterans, the base unit, did not change. The CMO-93, the heavy weapon, went down by 4 from 26 to 22. And then the Super Squad went down by 13, Mike, from 63 to 50.
It was 63 points.
It really was 63 points. When I wrote the unit guide, which now I have to change like many other unit guides still. And I basically was like, this is the worst deal in all of Legion. Just don't even think about touching it. It's literally the worst upgrade in the entire game. Now that's quite not quite so easy to say. Rebel Sleeper Cell, I guess this is maybe the one that might stand out the most, although the ATRT one matters probably like just as much, honestly. But up by 7 for the base unit and up by 5 for the Astromech. So a total functional 12-point increase for the unit that pretty much everybody ran anyway. And then Sabine, the aforementioned partner of crime of Ahsoka, down by 20, and the Darksaber down by 10 to now be a measly 5 points to give Sabine Dauntless and a good melee attack.
I mean, she went down 30 points, right? Like
she went down 30 points, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Mike, like what? Let's start with this. Do you feel like the RT and Sleeper Cell hits are appropriate?
They feel heavy-handed to me. I think this is. I think this might be too much. I think this is a little bit farther than I would have personally went. I basically what has happened here is, they've gone up, like 10 to 12 points each. I think going up 5 would have been fine, at least as a starting place.
Yeah.
I could see a world where Sleeper Cell just doesn't take the astromech moving forward and just try and keeps things cheap. I don't know. Tough.
Could be.
It's tough
Could
to
be.
say.
Yeah.
10 points. 10 points is a lot.
I'll say this. Once again, this is probably like the fifth time. I half agree with you, which is to say I agree that Sleeper Cell, I think, was heavy-handed by a little bit. Like I think that 7 points actually would have been a perfect amount to make Sleeper Cell go up by.
Yeah, I'm not sure the astromech needed to go up.
Yeah. And so the one where I actually think that it was appropriate was the RT. I think that the RT may actually have like sneakily been more undercosted than Sleeper Cell was because of its durability in particular.
That's possible. I guess I played a lot of Rebel ATRTs in the first section of New Legion. They were good. I never was like, oh my god, these are droidecas, like
they're not decas. And actually, so maybe I'm going over to the mic side because you literally just said it's not like they're decas. Decas were always a better deal than the Rebel ATRT. I don't care what you tell me.
Yeah.
Decas went up by 7, and the Rebel ATRT that everybody takes went up by 9.
Yes.
So when you put it that way, maybe it was heavy-handed, but we're talking about by like 4 points maybe. So maybe the base didn't need to go up actually. And maybe it was just the laser cannon that needed to be equivalent to the other choices because it actually was the best one for it to take.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the gun pricing on the ATRT felt weird. It was like, oh, the best one's the cheapest one. Great, Like,
don't worry, it's still that way for Ordnance, Mike. Don't worry.
Sure. So, I don't know. Yeah,
we'll
feel
see.
Like it's tough to say, right? Like,
it's not crazy either way. It's not like, oh my god, this unit's dead.
I definitely think out of, barring like these are all the nerfs that we've seen out of Republic, Rebels, and so there are no more nerfs.
There's no more nerfs.
I think of the people that got
Get rid of
nerfed,
Empire players.
Yeah, of the people that got nerfed, Separatists definitely made out the best.
Yeah,
not close.
I agree.
And the reason I bring that up is the Separatists are already doing the best.
Yes,
They seem to be the front runners, and I think they're going to come out of this points update, at least out of the 3 we've talked about so far, probably.
It's possible that the 67-point Deca is still the best deal in support for all the factions.
I mean, they're definitely still
putting that out there.
Definitely still going to pay for it for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. I think that the thing that it definitely does, which is the thing that I had been sort of miffed about all along, is that it creates choices in the slots for Rebels that, like, if you're trying to play optimally, it felt like you had, like, for Special Forces, you had Slingers and Sleeper Cell, and then for support, you had ATRT, and that was, like, it.
I mean, don't you, isn't that still the case? I don't think that's changed. You're still not taking Wookiees, and you're still not taking Commandos. I don't know why they're not on this list.
Damn it, you're right. What about the dug-in FD cannon, Mike?
I mean, maybe as a one of. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could maybe see a one of FD, right? Like, but
yeah.
But like, as far as the Special Forces slot goes, like, it's definitely still Sleepers and Slingers. The 82 or 87.
I mean, Mandos is more of a choice, right?
Sure, yeah. Mando's definitely down to 62. I think Mando's we can talk, but I don't know. Commandos and Wookiee's been done dirty, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to decide, whenever we get an interview about whether I'm gonna like play my Wookiee card again. I think I'm gonna get to the point that I just like annoy them so much that they're purposely gonna like stop looking at Wookiees forever, and it's gonna be my fault. So I need to be very cautious, Mike. But I agree that it feels like Wookiees like kind of keep getting forgotten over and over again.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, I think it was a good choice to take the veteran heavy down, because I think the heavy felt like an actively bad choice when you could instead be doing a Mark II for like not all that much more.
Yeah.
So now it's like more of a choice. And then the Super Squad going down by 13. I actually still don't think it's a good deal.
You're still not going to take it.
We could be wrong, but like to me, that puts the veteran Super Squad in the zone that the Rebel Trooper Super Squad is in now, where it's like not extremely egregious the way that it used to be, but I also don't think that it's an actively good deal.
I think the issue with Rebel Super Squads is that it's just like, hey, if I've just got like a regular Rebel Trooper Squad, it's like this squad is not very enticing to like go after and kill. But as soon as you like level it up to a Super Squad, it's like that squad's easy to kill and it's worth something. So I'm going to put it in the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
And, again, you could just have a Mark II instead of the Super Squad.
Yeah.
And then, if you're going to do a Super Squad, maybe just do another naked squad and then put another Mark II in there.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's still the math.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then let's finish with the heroes. Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka may have been the most overpriced hero unit in the game, despite the existence of Fifth Brother. I think she probably was at 145. Considering like what she can't do. At 115, she's in the Commander Luke zone. She's in the Inquisitor zone, which
just
feels
say
like
not good.
ooh. It's certainly more of a choice now. It is wild that we're talking about a 30-point decrease and that we're still iffy on it.
I don't know.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I guess my question is like, if I think Sabine might be different, but.
Sabine's a different case. Totally different case.
But when talking about Ahsoka, I'm like, are you gonna give up the operatives you're taking in Rebels to take this piece? What, like?
Yeah, you're talking about Din, Bad Batch, Operative Luke, Sabine. It gets pretty tough, Mike. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I just like I don't know, man. Like
You know what? Let's move to Sabine. I think that's a more fun conversation because I can feel the eyes of all the Ahsoka fans out there burning into my soul. And so I'm just gonna like dodge them by switching to now basically, like you said, 30 points cheaper. And so to recap, a Sabine plus Darksaber without any other upgrades is now 110. And you're probably going to be putting grapple onto her.
Maybe.
I think Immobilize is just like so good.
If it didn't cost an action, I would be more in that camp.
That's fair. That's fair. And so, like a way that you could think about it potentially is that Sabine went down 20 and now you can like, if you wanted to do both shield and grapple, that you can put both of those on there for no extra cost and also have the Darksaber. So like your super Sabine is significantly less. But of course, like just her with the Darksaber and like up close and personal. So that's 118. Or if you want to be crazy, you can do a double retinue with Clan Ren. I don't know. I guess Clan Ren also, I should mention, they would have gotten cheaper along with the core Mandalorian Resistance, or
no, that's a
okay. So Clan Ren stays the same cost.
Yep.
But Sabine, like, Explosions is in some ways a better card than it ever was.
Yeah. No, I mean, Explosions, the way I read this is Explosions got 30 points cheaper.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, and Sabine's gun is like no joke with Gunslinger in the new edition. It's much better now than it used to be.
And,
it's
like
Ahsoka's lightsaber at range 2.
Yeah. That's totally true. It is funny that something they literally just did is that they gave her melee on her gun, and then they also made the Darksaber 5 points. So it's sort of like I guess that there's a point to this in some capacity, but
they should have given the gun versatile. But
yeah, you're right. That definitely would have changed things.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it needs it, to be clear. But
right, I don't know. Like 118 for up close and personal Darksaber Sabine seems really strong.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think some people were already playing Sabine at the old price point. I think they were doing it maybe in spite of the value, but I do think she's much better. Her command, her 3-pip and her 1-pip are still very good.
It really feels like Rebels are spoiled at the op slot now. They have a lot of fantastic options. And so they have very tough choices.
They do. I think that's the biggest issue
is that there's only 2.
Yeah, there's only 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they dumped more characters that used to be comedians into it.
Yep, accurate. Those customizable rebel operatives are going to have to be really damn good to be able to like get past, not only these more expensive ones, but like they would have to be pretty darn good to get past Jin as far as being like a cheap one that you're just tossing in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I think the rebel operative customizable may have the toughest job out of all of the new customizable units, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's get to the big one, the one everybody's been waiting for, Galactic Empire. Nothing but buffs, Mike. I'm just going to run down the list. Imperial Death Troopers down by 6 to 66 points. Shore Troopers, the core unit, unlike the Rebel Veterans, went down by 6 from 52 to 46. The T-21B went down by 4, just like the Rebel Vet Heavy, 32 to 28. The Super Squad for Shore Troopers, which I think was actually always more valuable than the Veteran Super Squad, went down by 5 more points, going from 70 to 52, which means that it is now only a 6-point premium over the base cost of the unit. And in fact, it is equal to the previous base cost of the unit compared to the Rebel Vet. I guess that's also a 6-point premium, but it feels like more than 6 points for them. And then let's see, and then here's the other big one, Riot Control Squad, the base unit, down by 6. The KX down by 12 from 30 to 18. And then the base squad is now 44. And then lastly, the Stormtrooper Super Squad, one of the relatively least talked about super squads out there, did go down by 6 from 46 to 40, which does bring that to be what the base squad is 40, or the base squad is 44?
I think it's 42.
42. Okay, so that is now, along with Ewoks, the now one of 2 types of super squads that is actually cheaper than the base squad of the unit, which potentially makes it more interesting. So let's talk about.
Oh, you missed one.
Oh, did I miss one?
Yep, speeders are down 10.
Oh, speeders are down 10. I think. Oh, I guess it must be that, like, I'm looking at this PDF where they did the summary. Okay, yeah, so that's good. So the speeders went down 10, which means that they're at 70 now. Is that right?
Yep, they're I think
okay.
Back to where we started.
Back to where we started. The time is a flat circle. Okay, so I mean, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about riots or something else?
I mean, I think riots at 62 with the KX is like. Basically, the squad is interchangeable with stormtroopers with heavy weapons now, which I think is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
It definitely feels like around where they should be. This is exciting. I think this is I think kind of what This is at least what Riot. This is at least what Riot needs. Is it good enough on its own to shake up Empire? I don't know. It's definitely a different way to play.
It's not on its own.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. I think that at the very least, something that feels like it's going to be a very common choice is is a riot squad right next to Callus.
Yes, 100%. And yeah. No,
that feels like a really solid choice as like your two units that are going to be in a lot of Empire lists,
and they can brawl pretty well.
Yeah, exactly.
They both have charge. They're like a nice little hit squad that you can kind of pair off and just go take that point. That's they're not going to be able to take like a heavily defended point on their own, but they're going to be able to beat most things that are their points cost.
Yeah, I feel like there may be games where you actually sort of deploy them into a safe place relatively early, like on one side, and you're sort of like forcing your opponent to like decide like how much do they need to invest in order to be able to deal with that. Yeah. Given, I mean, like the free order from Callus like matters a ton.
Yep.
In that situation, and maybe. Like there's going to be some players who want to go a step further and that they're going to have a Gideon Hask riot and a KX riot next to each other with Callus. If you want to sort of have like a super supercharged trio that's going to be like going in there with full order control.
I think the Callus package, like it's gonna be Callus, Riot, and then it's gonna be a Death Trooper unit. Because Callus is gonna have Strike Team Leader, and you're gonna put it on the Death Trooper unit, and you're just gonna feed that unit aims. So the Death Trooper unit is just gonna lay down fire for those 2 units while they get in there.
Or a more budget version is that you could just have a full scout with a Sab.
You could,
and then it's gonna have it's gonna be able to have an aim on the way in.
Probably won't shoot turn 1, but yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not going to shoot turn 1. On breakthrough, it might actually.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so KX definitely, it feels solid. My initial gut reaction to 18 was that it sounds like so much. But I think the thing that people can forget is that it is still the case that a riot control squad can get very shut down by a suppression token. And that nothing about that changes. Granted, like it does it makes that Hask one a little bit more attractive because it has the extra courage. But it is still the case that they can be slowed down to a crawl. But, I am thinking about, like, at the very beginning of the season when Brian Bear was sort of, like, thinking about what if you did 6 riot controls in a list?
I mean, the way I'm feeling about this is they were brought down to basically be interchangeable with Storms. That allows us to see if they can compete. I'm not convinced that they're going to be the option in the core slots still. Like, could they be? Yes. But I think all that this is doing is giving us the opportunity. It's like giving them the ticket to go compete. like they're allowed to try now.
They're allowed to go to the fair.
Yeah. Whether they win the prize is I think is up in the air.
So like you talked about how they're not going to be necessarily automatic core choice. Well, they have more competition also because of the I don't know, the Storms, like maybe whatever. I think that's like I said everything I'm going to say about the Storm Super Squad.
I actually think 86 points for 9 Stormtroopers is like, or is I guess 88? No, it's 82. It's 82 points for 9 Stormtroopers. That's like,
it's a good deal. And then if you have the RT, or if you have the RT or the T21, then it is like a big dice pool.
I mean, it's already shooting 9 dice. I'm not sure you need to make that unit cost more than 100
yeah,
points.
maybe you're right. They're already surging.
Yeah.
So maybe you just like
it's effectively a 40-point Z6 that has 5 health instead of 1.
It's like a surging heavy weapon that also gives you 4 more health instead of 1, or 5 more health instead of 1.
Right.
Hey. I think you're right. The naked plus Super Squad may actually be a thing.
That's what I'm thinking. I think you just kind of like leave the heavy, like if you're gonna do the Super Squad thing, I think you just leave the heavy weapon out.
Yeah,
on the Storms at least.
I think that's reasonable because like even on those clone Super Squads, like the ones that we really like are the ones that give charge and that have melee weapons that are like super good.
Yep.
And obviously that wouldn't be the case with this one unless you put Imperial March on them, Mike. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea with the Storm Super Squad is just like, you've got to kill 9 guys to make me lose this point, right?
Yeah, I like that, and in some ways you can sort of think of it as it might be the best, like quote heavy to attach to a Stormtrooper in your list.
Yep.
And then the one that got many more decreases though is the Shore Squad. So like in totality, the Shore Super Squad, which, like, you could find the defenders if you looked hard, but you had to look pretty hard. And so, like, in totality, that went down by 28 points. Like, if you're talking about a super squad with the heavy weapon, is down 28 points. And, like, to the point where, like, I'm actually having to put this in to see what the total points of the new unit is. So
I think it's 126. I think. Okay. I'm doing that in my head.
All right, so I'm not doing it in my head because, like, I'm not great at doing math in my head. So it is 126. Good job. Okay, so it's 126 for what is, so you're getting 9 black dice from the Shores, and then you're getting 2 more black, 2 more white. So it's 11 black dice and 2 white dice with critical 1, which for that dice pool is only slightly worse than having critical 2 or surge to crit, but it is worse. Like, so you may still have some blanks from surge results, of course, but and then with the potential to have the whole thing be range 4, if you're spending an aim token, that, I think that is better. I think that's like more likely to do damage to a non-armor unit than a surging ATST shot, right? At range 3.
Sorry, say what you just said again.
Like, so you can compare a triple rainbow ATST shot, like at range 3 for the ATST, to this potentially range 4 13 dice critical 1 shot. Like, I think 13 dice is one is better, right?
I mean, it's the surgeon ATST one is effectively like roughly 9 black dice, I think, right? No, it's better than that. I think it's 12. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit better. I think the downside is that you got to spend your aim on long shot.
Yes, it's not easy.
The ATST also doesn't get suppressed by 1 suppression token.
By the way, I'm just going to do something real fast. We'll just add dug in to this unit, which makes it 132.
The dug in equation, I think, is the interesting piece of this.
Let's say, for example, this is sort of like, I mean, you can think of this as the Echo R squad that we had talked about as being a thing, and maybe we're even still talking about being a thing. Like, if you ran one of them with dug in and is kind of hanging out, just being a range 4 shooter for the whole game and taking aim shoot, aim shoot, aim shoot.
It's not doing that, though, because 1 suppression token means you don't get to aim.
True.
Even if you have compel in your list, because compel doesn't allow you to aim.
Yeah, I guess you would want to have some exemplar support if you're doing that.
I think you have to, because offensive push doesn't. I mean, I guess offensive push works in a world where you're compelling, but I don't know.
I'm in the zone where it's certainly worth a try, and my mind is open to the fact that this is going to be a viable competitive choice.
I think I'm open to it. I think I'm only open into it because of dug in. I think if you take dug in off the table, I still don't want to go anywhere close to this squad.
I'll say that I'm still not a fan of spamming short troopers.
Yeah,
despite the points decreases,
it's definitely too expensive to spam them. I think that issue is still on the table, which I think leads me to the secondary point, which is like prepared positions kind of wants everything to be on the table already. Like the mass prepared positions thing is,
if they're speed 1 for sure.
I don't know. Jury's out. I think I'm willing to entertain lists like this, but it's still really expensive.
It is, but again, it is suppressible. That would definitely be the problem. With sort of the idea of having it be like a turret in the back, but we'll see. I think that like the single super squad with the heavy and dug in at 132, it seems like a viable option as a piece of an army, at least is the way it feels to me.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah,
do you think the short troopers with a T-21 no super is?
No. I hate it. I still hate it, by the way. That's down 10, and I still don't like it because of the speed 1.
So, like, why is tossing in another 52 points? Like, what?
Because of tempo, for tempo reasons. And it's true that you would need to be able to relatively reliably activate them early, but you're talking about a first activation big hit.
But
and that's not going to be the case.
If you're activating them early, dug in doesn't do anything.
Oh, that's a good point. It's true that dug in doesn't do anything, but I'll say this is that to me, dug in is still about round 1. Most of all. And so round 1, they're not a tempo piece. They are a wait until they've deployed the thing that you want to shoot at and then activate them piece. Of course, then they're probably going to be suppressed, which means that, again, you need to be figuring out your exemplar situation with that.
Yep.
And so, I think that you're showing that You definitely can't just like toss these into a list and expect to be able to get results out of them.
No.
However, part of this will depend on customizables and how easy the exemplar is to get to them. We obviously already know that Krennic and Veers like can just do it, is that they can do a move aim.
Yeah.
And just like take care of business. And unlike with other like because of prepare positions, if you're running Veers, it could do a move and a spotter onto multiple of these in order to like potentially. Of course, I don't think you want multiple. I think you kind of want one. But I think that there's something to it. Like again, on round 1, you're waiting for the good target and then you're shooting, and then round 2 and after, you're using it as a tempo sort of like quick super laser that is taking pretty big shots in the grand scheme of things. It's again bigger than the range 3 ATST until it starts taking damage, I should say, which is a big difference between that and the ATST, of course. So I think it was worth a shot. I think that it is a viable option, but we will see. I do agree with you that that spamming them still feels bad, and that the standard unit with the heavy still feels bad. And it's all because of speed 1 for me.
Yeah, I mean, speed 1's pretty limited. Yeah. I was just curious what you thought of the core unit with just the heavy. Because, I mean, on its face, like, if you can't take that squad, like, this probably still needs more work, right?
Could be. Down by 18 sure feels like a lot. But, of course, it was just like, it was so egregiously high in the beginning. Death Troopers, I feel like we're fine. That's the last thing to talk about here, aside from maybe speeder bikes. But I feel like Death Troopers were fine, and so them going down by 6 feels like some free money.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were probably a little too expensive.
Probably a little
bit. I don't think I'm not.
They're not busted good
this.
now.
Yeah,
but it's like a Krennic quad Death Trooper is looking a little bit better. Yeah. Or even just the single squad with DTS 16 to give you compel.
And
that ain't bad.
They're also like way better with the lead the strike team upgrade.
Oh yeah,
like they're just
totally.
Like.
Precise too.
Yeah, like it's just like you're just gonna have
pretty good.
You're just gonna have one Death Trooper that's just like always hitting 6 at range 4. Like that's just like every turn, unless they like lose guys, obviously. But
and they can move up, unlike some of the special forces that we think of. Unlike with Padme, for instance, with ARCs, Death Troopers can move up with Callus.
Yeah.
And when they move up, they
just get better.
May even be using a blast weapon along with their pistols, and then with a free aim, that's a lot of dice.
Yeah,
with a lot of mods.
Yep.
And no cover, so that seems pretty good. Okay, and then speeder bikes. It's the last thing we got to talk about. What do you think?
I think Blizzard might be a sleeper winner here.
Let me ask you this: bikes and EWEVs both got potential buffs. What is your choice in Blizzard at this point?
I think bikes with the new upgrade. I think. Don't get me wrong. Like maybe you take like a one-off EWEB in that list and also give it dug in.
Triple bike
one EWEB. I could see kind of.
I could see that.
I could see that up a little bit, but yeah, I just that and like Imperial marching a bunch of flamethrowers, snow troopers at the same time seems like it could be. I don't know. That's also like you're like, oh, I've got like 7 units I just tacked 5 points onto. Like maybe. Yeah,
at least the bikes are still net down 5 with the new upgrade tacked onto it. So yeah, I think that there's interesting choices in Blizzard Force between the two support options, and that the Flamer Snow got better. So. Yeah, in sort of a funny way, like Blizzard Force actually got a significant upgrade just generally. Bikes are also in Tempest, but I feel like Tempest is still going to be a little bit struggling until their customizable commander comes out. I just played against a guy in our league finals who was playing Tempest, and he didn't have access to improvised orders. And
oh no!
Like, ooh, that sucks, bro. There's literally no options. For it
it's like
now.
no order control whatsoever.
Yeah. But speeder bikes, just like stabs, they feel like a choice now, and we will see what it brings us. So, Mike, it's been a long episode. I really appreciate you staying up late as we finish this up, and like we did record this quickly so that we could get it out to the people. Do you have anything general to say before we sign off?
This is the most excited I've been about Legion in a couple of years. I really want to reinforce that, like, this I think is what I wanted to see. I wasn't. I'm going to be honest. When this is what I wanted to see, and I felt let down like a month or so ago, and and I'm going to be honest. I wasn't expecting them to turn around and do this. I was expecting we were going to have to wait 6 months, and even then, I wasn't expecting to get anything other than points adjustments. And this was also more points adjustments than I thought we were going to get. So, I do want to say thank you. For
absolutely. Thank you to everybody at AMG for giving us this breath of fresh air to the game.
Yeah, I think it's really important to, I know that I can tend to be a critical person sometimes. No, but I do think that it's important that we emphasize when there are big wins, and I think that this is one of the biggest wins that we've seen out of them in a while. So,
and you were prescient a couple of weeks ago when you talked about how 40K did balance.
Yeah,
and we were talking about how it would be cool if Legion just like shook things up, took risks, and that's exactly what they're doing. Some of these changes are going to be too much, probably. But that's okay.
There's 100% something's going to be broken in here. But I want to be clear. I'm okay with that. That's
we're going to have another chance to adjust it in November.
Yep.
And so stuff that gets overcorrected can get re-corrected.
There's no way we're getting out of this without one of those upgrades being a problem.
Yeah. And I look forward to the continued whittling away of the Bark twin laser gunner until we eventually get to the point that it like becomes free, and we still don't take it because it makes us speed 2.
I do want to just there are two things that I am really surprised are not on this list for Empire, considering that there was a lot of operative, hey,
a brother and a sister, perhaps.
Yeah, what? I mean, look. I mean, I think all of this is great. I just
It honestly makes me wonder if there's some kind of upgrade that is coming out that is for Op Vader and the 2 Inquisitors only, that's going to be so awesome that they literally didn't want to touch them for this points update.
That's possible. I think, look, I've been harping on Riot Control for months.
It's been fun, by the way.
It's been fun, and I think we can probably stop now. But I do think
we're
that
gonna stop. I promise, AMG.
In the shadows, I think the reason Riot Control was so easy to pick on was because it was a core choice, right?
Yes,
they should be takeable in every army. I'm less inclined to harp on characters being bad because I think some characters kind of have to be bad. But I think the Inquisitors are the worst characters in the game.
I think there's an argument it used to be Rebel Ahsoka.
That's fair.
Now Rebel Ahsoka is merely unexciting the way that I feel about Rebel Commander Luke, and that the Inquisitor is still, especially Fifth Brother, because of the situation of just refusing to shoot at him and thereby denying him a move of attack for the entire game, which is just hilarious to me. Seventh Sister, there's hope for her if she was just cheaper.
Yeah. I think they both could just be cheaper. I don't know. It's just
a lot cheaper.
I'm just interested that there's literally no characters in the Galactic Empire points change list, which I thought was interesting.
Well, another thing you could say is that Callus, especially, and Iden a little bit, got points adjustments already.
That's fair.
Yeah, just like a month and a half ago. So
sure.
But yeah, boy, just putting Callus together with a lot of the new upgrades, and I mean the Callus stocks are just so ridiculously high at this point. It's wild.
They're we got to make him 70 because they're gonna pay. He's gonna be 78 anyway.
Yeah, he's gonna really be 78, so we have to take that into account. Jeez Louise. Yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. Super excited. I second Mike's sentiment. Thank you to AMG for being willing to take a risk by doing this. When we get to talk to the Wills, I'm just gonna give you a preview. I'm going to ask you how much you were lying by omission when you talked about the nature of the April points update, because of how much of this stuff was in your head already. And it's not I'd be mad at them for that. I'm just curious. I'm just curious about how much they were having to sort of suppress their instincts when they were telling us about like, well, these are the reasons, et cetera, why we are not changing much of anything in this April points update. Anyway, except for, and guess what? I'm still going to ask them about range troopers.
And they didn't go down here. I think that that's important to
Correct.
note. Like they've kind of like the whole like thesis of keeping everything the same so that its printed costs are correct. That thesis is out the window.
Yeah.
So somebody at AMG headquarters thinks range troopers are really good. We're gonna have
And
to.
it's funny because like range troopers, because they're support, right?
They are.
So they still wouldn't have gotten like the new retinue bonus.
Correct.
If they were worried about that. So
Yeah, we'll see. I do want to just like, again, thank you. And I do want to just like the upgrade pack that came
the
along
upgrades
with
is so
this
awesome.
is just like,
yeah.
hey man, even if it's just like 4 upgrades every time with the points adjustments, I think that was a great addition. Nobody saw that coming. I think please as often as possible when I think tagging those together.
We were short generic upgrades after they got rid of a bunch, and now we are no longer short generic upgrades. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for sticking with us. Mike, let's close it out.
Yeah, this is the Notorious Scoundrels, season 4, episode 20, sort of. I'm Mike.
Yeah, 19 and a half. I'm Evan.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.